I can't believe it.
David Lynch has been hailed as a master of surrealism. This has been true since the moment he started making films. As a student, he attended the AFI's Center for Advanced Film Studies, and used his time there to start working on Eraserhead.
Oh, you are sick.
Films like Blue Velvet, Lost Highway, and The Elephant Man further boosted his reputation for surreal, dreamlike, and abstract filmmaking.
Mommy loves you. Baby wants to fuck. Get ready to fuck! You fuckers, fucker! You fucker! Don't you fucking look at me!
And in 1990, David Lynch created the television serial drama Twin Peaks. Twin Peaks had 2 seasons before getting canceled by ABC. This was followed by a film prequel, Fire Walk With Me. At the time, it was a full decade before the recognition of the prestige TV era, and TV wasn't seen as a very auspicious medium for a talented and ambitious director. Lynch continued working on films while Twin Peaks was on. By the end of the 90s, David Lynch was a star. He met Naomi Watts and Laura Harring while attempting to make a second TV series in 1999.
Headshots are one thing, but then I like to meet the people, or sometimes Joanna will has people just talk on video. I never make them audition a scene ever. And I like to talk to people or see them talking, and then I get a feeling about them, and I can see if they can make it through the film. Like I'm running scenes in my head, and they'll see this person can go this far or do that, but that it's just not going to work for that, and it goes like that. So eventually, through meeting and talking, I find the people.
He cast them for photographs and began working on the pilot. ABC cut the pilot from its schedule.
We gave the pilot, not yet finished, over to ABC television. And the executive in charge watched this pilot at 6 o'clock in the morning, standing up on the phone, drinking coffee with a thing on a TV across the room, and he didn't like it. So,
on the phone?
Making phone calls, like an executives, they do. So, but, sometimes these things, it happens. Everybody knows that sometimes something looking very negative can be a gigantic blessing.
David Lynch still wanted to work with Naomi Watts and Laura Harring, and decided to turn the TV pilot into a film. That film was Mulholland Drive.
This is the girl. Excellent choice.
In the 2 decades since the film's release, critics have attempted to parse out the film and explain it. While David Lynch refuses to exactly comment on the symbolism and interpretations. But he does say that his obscure neo-noir thriller has an answer, and has put out a list of 10 different clues he believes help answer it. There are allusions to old-time Hollywood. Sunset Boulevard is often compared, and is one of the first signs we see in the film. Likewise, a poster of Rita Hayworth as Gilda gives Rita, who loses her memory in a car accident, a new name. We have two different stories, a friendship which turns romantic between Hollywood newcomer Betty Elms, played by Naomi Watts, and a starlet, Rita, who loses her memory after a car accident following an assassination, played by Laura Harring. We also get a parallel story about the end of an affair between failed actress Diane Selwyn and starlet Camilla Rhodes, who are played by the same actresses. In both stories is the director Adam Kesher, played by Justin Theroux, who seems to recognize Betty Elms. The tagline, "A Love Story of the City of Dreams," has led many critics, boringly I think, to just assume it's all a dream, or that Betty is a real person and Diane is a dream, or vice versa. We also get the juxtaposition of optimism and cynicism, of Betty's bright future and Diane's unfulfilled potential. This version of Hollywood is petty, vindictive, toxic, and often fleeting. However, the idea that one story is a dream goes far to explain a lot. Betty is naturally talented, to the point where it blows the producers away on her first try, while Diane seems to only get roles due to her proximity to Camilla.
I hate you. I hate us both.
Betty's relationship with Rita, where she has lost her memory, means that Rita is fully at the mercy and care of Betty. While the roles are reversed in Diane's case, Camilla doesn't need her at all.
Come on, it'll be just like in the movies. We'll pretend to be someone else.
In an even more surreal twist, Diane is the name of the diner waitress in the first story, leading Rita to remember the name Diane Selwyn, who they visit and find a putrefied corpse. Betty is the name of the waitress in the second part.
Diane Selwyn. Maybe that's my name.
There's also an obsession with fakeness and illusion throughout the film. The Silencio scene, before Diane wakes up, has an MC declaring,
No hay banda. There is no band. Il n'est pas d'orchestra. This is all a tape recording.
The colors red and blue, a red lampshade, a blue light, are repeated throughout the movie, a blue box unlocked by a blue key. The scene in Club Silencio mirrors the most surrealistic part of Blue Velvet, where Dean Stockwell, in a flamboyant costume, lip-syncs Roy Orbison's In Dreams. In Club Silencio, a woman sings a Spanish version of Roy Orbison's Crying. There's a long subplot in the Betty Rita sequence, where the filmmaker Adam Kesher is forced to recast the lead actress in his movie, The Sylvia North Story. And a plot between mob financiers, a cowboy, and a disabled man played by a dwarf is plotting to have Camilla Rhodes, played by a different actress in Betty's reality, take the film's lead.
I want you to go back to work tomorrow. You were recasting the lead actress anyway. Auditioned many girls for the part. When you see the girl that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, "This is the girl."
This could be explained as a manifestation of Diane's failure, concocting these elaborate plots in her dreams. Later, Diane explains that Camilla was the one who took the lead from her in the Sylvia North Story, and that's how they met.
I wanted the lead so bad. Anyway, Camilla got the part. The director...
Bob Brooker?
Yes. He didn't think so much of me.
Adam Kesher is suffering. His wife leaves him after cheating with Billy Ray Cyrus, and he is homeless and chased around the city covered in paint. Also makes sense if Adam Kesher is Camilla's real-life fiancé who came between her and Diane. The film ends with Diane killing herself after paying to have Camilla killed. Chased through the halls by the same elderly couple that brought Betty into Hollywood, now turned scary and evil, along with the witch-like bum who may represent her inner darkness. Even in the Diane Selwick story, the emotions of the characters and the psychosexual drama is tinged with Diane's own resentment in our framing. Every character that kisses Camilla stares directly into Diane's eyes The overwhelming pity they feel for her is palpable. There are also real-life parallels. The film is dedicated to Jennifer Syme, David Lynch's former assistant, who was killed in a car accident in 2001. Syme wanted to be an actress and had a similar story to Betty. As far as David Lynch is concerned, he seems to enjoy all the theories.
It's all recorded. No! Banda! It is all a tape.
Lynch wants to evoke a reaction, a conversation, and Mulholland Drive does nothing if not that.
When it's finished, you'll find this where I told you.
Anyway, before I introduce the panel, please like this video and subscribe to the Movie Night Extravaganza YouTube channel. Hit that bell to get notified whenever we're streaming. Also, we are now monetized, so if you have any pressing questions during this live stream, send us a super chat, which helps me keep the show running, and which I am obligated by international law, human rights law, to answer. We also have a Patreon, patreon.com/Movie Night Extra. All of our after parties are on there forever. Okay, let me introduce the panel. Conan Neutron, host of Protonic Reversal, co-host of Movie Night Extravaganza, and frontman for Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. Conan Neutron and the Secret Friends has a new split LP with Lung, Adult Prom, available now on Bandcamp. J. Andrew World, illustrator, book cover artist, artist for Give Them an Argument, co-host for Movie Night Extravaganza, and Bad Takes. Kristina Oakes, This Barbie is streaming on Twitch, twitch.tv/Cosmopolitics, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky at Cosmopolitics. Send her some subs on Twitch. Renee Rune is the host of the Night Shift podcast with Bonnie Burton and Jenna Hayes, hosts Rune Radio, and is a blogger, writer, poet, and the head of Rune Agency. Rayyvana is a Twitch partner, a Young Turks contributor, a disability rights advocate, and the co-host of Taking the L. I, of course, am your local yeehawing, good attitude having movie night cowboy, Forrest Miller. If this stream goes well, you'll see me 2 more times. If it goes badly, you'll see me once.
Absolutely. By the way, that dude that plays the cowboy, real life producer, not like an actor. Lynch just was like, "Oh, this is the guy that should be doing this." Which
I was wondering, like, has he been? I don't know. His face looks like familiar.
He looks like a dude that you should know, like some famous character actor or something. Right? No, it's just a producer guy that he thought would be good in that role.
You look like a cowboy.
By the way, did all 3 of us have some cowboy related nickname? It looks like we did. Isn't that just like dudes? This film is full of like awesome female characters, and we're like, oh no, we're all like that one guy that's in it for like 3 minutes. J. Andrew at least dressed up like a cowboy.
Bouncer at Club Silencio.
Exactly. I'll just be Silencio. Welcome back to the show, Ray. It's been a while.
It's been a minute. After the last time we all got together and hung out, I made a big stink about not being on the show for a while. Yep. So here I am back to talk about my favorite director.
Exactly. And of course, it's always lovely to have Renee back in the house. Whoop, whoop, all the way from next week in Australia.
Down under.
Down under. Yes, and Naomi Watts, Australian actress.
That's right. Yeah, forgot about that.
Give some love back.
It's trippy to hear her like speak in her Australian accent after watching this movie, and you're like, oh yeah, her accent is not like either of the amazing fucking American accents. Well, I guess technically Canadian accent in both cases, but it's like
it's also just like shucks, girl next door accent.
Yeah,
It's almost kind of sickening. Betty's accent is sickening to me. Yeah. I'm like, oh, it gives me like chills because it's so cookie cutter. Like
so, yeah. So that makes me wonder who else saw it in the theater. So I saw it in the theater. And I was already a Lynch fan, but me and Andy are old as fuck. So Andy, who's still muted, by the way. So don't worry. I wasn't gonna say anything. I kind of like it better that way. But did you see this in the theater, Andy?
No, I didn't. I did see it before it was released on video because remember that library I took you to? I got a screener copy at the library.
Fantastic.
So there we go.
Renee, I don't know about you.
No, I didn't.
So I'm the only one that saw it in the theater.
Come on, it's Australia we're talking about. We're
Sure.
behind.
I was already.
Everybody looks like freaking Billy Ray Cyrus in this movie, and in Australia. At least that's how I picture Australia. You know,
the Australian Mulholland Drive.
Honestly, when I completely forgot about Billy Ray Cyrus, and when I rewatched it last night, I absolutely erupted into insane
It's
laughter.
easy to forget about. You're like, holy crap! Imagine getting cheated on, and she's cheating with Billy Ray Cyrus,
and he's like the most calm person while he's throwing you out of your own house.
Yeah,
Like,
right.
he's just like, come on, man. I don't know. I don't care what she did. You can't treat your wife like that. And then just like gently picks him up and throws him out the door.
I know you have an achy breaky heart right now.
I know y'all got.
I would have loved to be there on the wall and hear the conversation between David Lynch and Billy Ray Cyrus.
and Billy Ray cocksucking Cyrus.
When
exactly.
he was like, "I want you to play this dude."
Well, and so okay, so on that, I want to address that actual scene. I just want to say that I did see this in the theater. I was already a David Lynch fan because I was ruined at a very young age. And it is incredible. History has vindicated Mulholland Drive because this film was castigated, openly castigated in a way that we don't. I know we all goof on social media, probably me most of all, frankly, on this show. But there was no answer back possible. And basically, the popular consensus is David Lynch does not have the ability to tell a coherent story, which is false, objectively.
That's a crazy takeaway.
But that was like the popular consensus, much in the same way that not anyone would ever be against the Afghanistan or Iraq war ever for any reason, because there were just none of those opinions that were out there. Again, credit to Roger Ebert, who I frequently have disagreed with on this show. He actually wrong about Lost Highway. He was wrong about Wild at Heart, but he was dead on for this one. And credit where credit's due. But it was crazy that there was no you had to go to the IMDb forums with other nerds to be like, what the fuck did I just watch? What just happened? Here's what I think may have happened. I don't know. It was crazy. It is impossible. For something that would have been so actively in the discourse now, it's impossible to understate how big of a deal was it for complete and utter film nerds such as myself. So having established that, can I just say that Justin Theroux's character just saying nothing and dumping all the pink paint on her jewelry is a flex? But one of the weirdest flexes I've ever seen.
It was amazing. I was like, now that's cool. That's a really badass thing to do. Fuck up all her shit ass jewelry. Because hot pink.
Hot pink paint. Why? First of all, why do they have hot pink paint around?
And why?
Wait, was he gonna make Barbie 20 years earlier?
Yeah.
It was, but
it's David Lynch walks so that Greta Gerwig can run.
There you go. It's also it's kind of fascinating when you watch later on in the movie, right? When it's what I presume is the real life version of it, the Diane Selwyn part of it. He's laughing with all of them, and he's like, so I ended up getting this huge settlement from the divorce, and it worked out great for me. And you have to believe in his mind, in her mind, right? Her addled mind that's fading away when it's the Adam Kesher character, and he runs in there and gets cheated on by Billy Ray Cyrus. She's playing these psychosexual games in her own mind where she's trying to torment him. So it's kind of funny that the first thing she thinks of is oh, he'll dump paint all over it, get the paint on himself, and then Billy Ray Cyrus will fucking punch him in the face and push him out of his own house.
But then later on, that other big pile of gabagool gets Billy Ray Cyrus, which is hilarious. Yeah. But can I just say that the exact quote, because I did write this down? I got the pool, she got the pool man, and he says it in such a oh my god, this guy must be insufferable. Wait, Jesus
he's
Christ.
A douche from the first time you see him.
Yeah.
He just exudes douche energy immediately.
Those glasses are just.
I was oh, this
2001 douche glasses.
Yeah,
he's somehow less douchey in her fever dream state than he is in real life.
Which you think he's insufferable in the Betty / dream state, right? And you're oh, this guy sucks. This guy's annoying. When he's going to the cowboy and he's just being smug as hell. It's dude, this is not the guy to be smug with. You're going to end up buried in a horse trough. Like,
Yeah.
like this is not the time for this. And then it's like, oh no, you're actually worse in real life, which is astounding because you were pretty bad before.
Yeah.
But by the way, good on Justin Theroux. He plays a great prick. Thank you.
Oh, he does. Yeah. I fell in love with Justin Theroux after realizing he was the cousin of Louis Theroux, and I heard them on a podcast together, and he's actually a fucking killer guy. And I was like, I completely changed my mind. I always thought he was a bit of a douche, but now I'm Team Theroux.
Yeah, he's
Well,
like,
I mean,
I'm not a douche,
like-
but I just play one on television.
Yeah,
Another movie.
He has,
He's
the
like,
biggest rock T-shirt.
I thought you were going to say something different.
Rock T-shirt collection.
Max says hi.
Huge, just like 400 shirts, and he cuts all the arms off, and he actually looks pretty damn good, I gotta say. So,
I mean, another movie. He's like even more of a douche in, right? Like he's an American Psycho. He's the guy that's cucking fucking Patrick Bateman.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. like so his
True.
douche pedigree, especially around this time, right? Because this is only like 2 years after American Psycho came out. That was like 1999. Like his douche pedigree at this point is immaculate.
yeah, and he continued to play plenty of douches after this.
Douches, bad guys types.
Yeah.
He's like extraordinarily well groomed now. I feel like in a way that he wasn't then. Like they did a lot of crazy things either with his hair at this point or his eyebrows, or like in every movie they like kind of mess with his facial features in ways that he has like a way more normal face now, I feel like. And I feel like it has to be that they've done so many different like crazy fucking styles to him. Like those glasses did not do him any favors.
Oh no,
they made him look like Max Cady in the Charlie's Angels sequel. I was like, what in the hell? He's ripped, but like, and then that strong, very, very poorly done Irish accent he did. I was like, oh.
Yeah.
Can I say welcome to the Rayyvana Hive, who are very baffled as to what the hell's going on right now. Don't worry, Rayyvana will eventually be allowed to speak on this show.
I explained it to them. Someone
Okay.
posted a link to the Mulholland Drive Wikipedia page and asked if that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So
that
that's
is indeed what we're talking
the
about.
level in which my audience engages with film.
Yeah, they're up there with that crew of a motley crew of characters that when Betty goes to audition, where it's like, oh yeah, and here's freaking Smiling Jack over here. He's gonna be reading the scene. All right, great. Like, and like it's like what is happening right now? Like what kind of movie is this?
Right.
Is this
jazz too? By the way,
is this an excuse for this old like kind of old school actor dude to like perv on women? Because it kind of seems like this might be what this is.
Captain.
Yeah, no, that 100% is.
Yeah,
and
he likes an audience.
I got like like the ant crawl as he like moved in closer, and he was like, and then afterwards he was like, yeah, that really did it. Ugh, get away.
But
from me.
how great is Naomi Watts in that scene though?
So good.
Because you see her as the Betty character, you're like, can this chick act? Is this like what's? And then you're like, oh, god damn. All right.
Also,
shit just got real.
Shout out to James Cairn from fucking Return of the Living Dead, who's Wally or whatever in that scene, in the audition scene.
Oh, is that from Return of the Living Dead? Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
It's all tied together.
There's
people.
a lot of like hidden little cameos in this film. Like Michael DeBar's is in this film, which I didn't realize until watching it again last night.
Where? Really? I just saw that documentary on him. It's nuts.
You know the scene where the hitman is the girl and there's another guy.
Yeah.
And they're walking in there for a cigarette.
He's the other guy?
He's the other guy. Yeah.
So Michael DeBar, oh my god. So first of all, there's a documentary about him that's worth watching. But oh my god, where to start with this guy? He's done so many things. Andy would know him from being the bad guy in MacGyver.
Not Stargate.
Those of you who don't know, MacGyver was a TV show that was out in the 80s.
Exactly. He was also on WKRP as like the sort of like total dickheaded like WKRP is like promoting this English band that are just a bunch of like assholes, but they're like really like got a bunch of business savvy basically. Notable in that. What's the song he wrote? The 80s pop song that like he wrote that like later was covered. And anyway, fascinated. Just a dude who's like the I'll look it up. Obsession. He wrote Obsession.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he was also
that's
married to Pamela DeBar, who
Yeah.
wrote I'm with the groupie, I'm with the band, who she's super famous for
This-
being that famous groupie in the Stones and Bowie and Zeppelin, blah 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 era.
And he played music too, and it was in like a somewhat well respected. But anyway, interesting dude. This documentary is like, only mid, but it's interesting just because like it's like how many things this guy's like the Forrest Gump of like everything. Sorry, Forrest. WKRP did have the best outro music, Stevie, and I know that because we covered that song on a B-sides compilation.
Nice.
So that's
We also
out there somewhere. Whoops, that's not
we
what
get Robert.
I was pointing at the one where I was getting complimented. God damn it!
We get Robert Forster in one fucking scene of this.
Who's amazing, and I was like, oh shit, it's Robert Forster. How did I not remember he's in this film?
Yeah,
and he's just like doing cop stuff. I'm just being a cop, just doing cop stuff.
And you get him for one scene, but in a perfect like dream kind of way, right? Where like people come in and out of your dreams that you've like either seen on screen in the movies or like and they don't come back, so you get like a really intense moment where it's like, oh, here's like the story of him as a detective and his partner, and you can tell like one of them is like really sharp and one of them is kind of like the dumb detective, and
we'll say learning on the job is a nice way to put it. Yeah.
His partner's also in like every David Lynch film and project. He's in a bunch of the Twin Peaks The Return, which I just rewatched.
Right, so
which
good.
Made me so mad at David Lynch, but
it's so great, but it's not meant to satisfy. And by the way, I've if you watch it with subtitles on, there's a lot of hissing and wheezing intensifies, sort of like, which is like whoever was like writing those captions was having a great time. That's all.
It's like people who write captions for porn.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. It's like some things you're like, oh, this is gonna be a chore, and some things it's like, oh no, I get to do Twin Peaks: The Return. Let's go, baby! I'm ready.
All right, so
so invoking Twin Peaks, right? This was gonna be a show originally.
Yeah, this was gonna be its own
crazy
show. But I wanted to say with what you were talking about with like critics not really liking it at the beginning.
It's an understatement.
Of course, David Lynch doesn't do any of his films any favors when it comes to stuff like that, right? And refuses to engage with any kind of any questions about it or like the symbology behind it or the allegories. So I have like an interview with him around the time the film came out at Cannes. And he's being asked by like this French interviewer all these questions and kind of refusing to engage with anything substantive that this interviewer has to say, which of course enrages critics more, right? Because critics want to engage with what the director has to say about it. They go like, "Oh, I got it for that reason." When somebody gives you nothing at all because they want you to come up with your own kind of theory behind it, they hate that.
So we have to realize too, though, is that Lost Highway. Mixed reaction at best. A lot of people. Wild Heart's another one that wasn't really well regarded at the time, and then later on was. But what eventually disowned the De Laurentiis Dune was like considered like a major like oh my god, he has squandered everything, like he's washed up, it's over. So even when but Blue Velvet's the one that everyone's like, oh yes, that's great, more like this, please. But he proceeded to make a bunch of movies that are not more like this.
You could say that this is more like this. This movie is taking all of the surrealist to the point where the fucking Club Silencio scene is pretty much identical in a lot of ways to the Dean the Dean Stanton like scene in fucking Dean Stockwell scene in Blue Velvet, right? Like so he is doing more of this. It's just not.
But what I'm saying is that as much as I agree with your sentiment, the popular consensus, especially among critics, was not that was
garbage.
And I'm not saying they're right. In fact, I'm saying they're all wrong. And I think history has actually vindicated him in this way. But like people were like, especially Lost Highway. Yeah, I love Lost Highway. Lost Highway was annoying for a lot of people, and I don't understand why. I'm like, what exactly did you think this was going to be?
Then he had a few films that he worked on afterwards that were completely like blindsided people, like The Straight Story.
Straight Story is just like objectively great, but like it's almost like
film, but it's not. It's not like hyper Lynch,
Well, and I mean? It's like he made a basically normal movie, and everyone's like, "What? We're baffled by this."
Yeah,
like, that's what you've been yelling for him to do for years. Years you have asked,
and now y'all mad? Now y'all confused?
And then like with this one, people are like, oh, it's so incoherent. He's like, oh, you want incoherent? Check Fire. And which is just like, I mean, that's a harsh joke even for me. And I love David Lynch.
I mean, you could say Dune is like his version of like a franchise movie too, right? Like Dune is his like sci-fi, like attempting. It doesn't jive well because he comes up with his own stories, and obviously, like I don't think he should be pinned down by a book that he
And he doesn't think so as well either.
But it is kind of funny that like that is him trying to engage with the sci-fi zeitgeist in a way that like clearly he isn't meant to.
Now, did you guys know that he had a project with Neil Gaiman?
Nope, but now we do.
Yeah. It was. Okay, we're not gonna. Okay.
Well, no, you can. All right, you can keep saying it.
Yeah, no, just it's not that long. But apparently Neil Gaiman and him were going to do a project together, and this was in the 90s at some point. I don't know exactly when, but apparently at one point David Lynch calls up Neil Gaiman. He's like, I got the perfect ending for the film. Because the movie's about a detective who loses his girlfriend and spends the entire movie trying to find her. And he's like, okay, so at the end, he's just going to wander around his living room. He's just going to pick up random objects and study them for a moment and set it back down. Like pick up a picture of his girlfriend, look at it for a minute, put it back down. And he does this for like a few minutes. And then we'll zoom out and we're on the moon. And Neil Gaiman just hangs up the phone and swore he'd never work with David Lynch.
That's fantastic.
Makes sense.
All right. Sorry, Forrest. I don't know whatever you're trying to queue up like 20 minutes ago, but let's
No, this is an interview there was an interview at Cannes that he was doing with a French interviewer. That the interviewer is clearly trying to like cue him to talk more about what the movie was about or like details of it, and he's talking about ideas. He just wants to talk about ideas.
Where do ideas come from? And I remember a story. Do you know Nikola Tesla? Okay, Tesla was I heard this story sitting on a park bench, and he stares at the sun, which is dangerous to do, and the alternating current motor appears in front of him. With the image of the alternating current motor comes a complete understanding of how it works and every part that makes it up. Like that it came. This is the way ideas are. They're seeds that are filled with electricity, and they pop suddenly. One moment they're not there, the next minute you see them completely. Now sometimes they're little ideas, but you still love them, and they might lead somewhere. They don't always lead somewhere, but they might lead somewhere. So you write those ideas down, because as good as memory is, many times you forget them. And if you forget a good idea, you want to commit suicide. So you have to write them down. Then maybe that little idea that you love will attract other ideas, and a story or a scene or a character starts to form, and you follow like that.
But it's not just one idea. There is so much idea in your movie.
There's several ideas, but they come sometimes in a group. I say it's so much like fish. You go fishing, and you can catch a little fish, or you can catch a big fish. And you can catch a school of many fish that's similar. And you fish long enough, and you have a feature film.
You write for this movie, it was first a TV movie.
Yes, set out to be a television pilot.
That's why there's so much character in the movie.
I think so. And it was so interesting to me, because you wouldn't necessarily go in a feature this way, but because it starts this way and goes this way, almost a new form comes. And to me, this was so exciting, and it's such a great gift to be able to finish it as a feature and complete it.
It was hard after that to make a movie for cinema with
Yes,
this material.
very, because I didn't have any ideas. No more fish came for a while to see how to make it close. And one night, in they came, and I saw it, and so it was a beautiful gift. It was like a miracle, sort of.
What was it? What have you added?
I don't like to say that, because then you never see things the same way. There were things added, some things thrown away, and many things restructured.
Your movie is a love story.
Mm-hmm.
It's a drama. It's at the beginning we can say it's a musical, where we can say it's an horror picture, a fantastic picture. It's all that. It's a big pleasure to make all these things in one movie for you.
It's a big pleasure. It's not that you say, I want to make a movie that has this, this, and this. You don't say that. It's just the ideas again.
Yeah, well, I mean, by the way, I do know what he added. Is anyone curious? Can you guess? And here's a hint. It was actually called out in the comments just recently. Anyone want to make a guess? What was added?
No. Sorry.
The sex scene. Sex scene was added, and the very ending.
Yeah.
Because remember, this was for TV. So do you think they had like full on like lesbian sex scene on ABC? Probably not.
yeah, that makes perfect sense. I also
and I know that because I listened to an interview with Laura Herring earlier, which is actually super fascinating.
The most amazing boobs and body I've ever seen.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it because someone needed to.
I just like, damn, when she came out, I'm like, this is the dream. You've got
I remember.
You've got Betty in like long sleeve cotton pajamas, like, and then just this bombshell fucking hot chick who's like, I'm just gonna sleep naked. Come on, this ain't reality.
Yeah, that's how you knew it was a dream.
I was like, oh, I'm sorry for making you sleep on the couch. You could sleep in my bed, my big aunt's bed, if you want.
Like it seems like it, like
really close with my female friends, like super close. They sleep in my bed, whatever. But I have never had one of my friends just go, "Ooh," and just
pop in naked,
butt naked, and go, "Let's have a sleepover." Nah.
I have a sleepover without our clothes on.
In their eyes.
I think the dynamic though is.
Well,
really
hold on, Forrest. I have one little anecdote with that. Apparently, they had become so buddy. Rita.
They had sex in real life.
Nope, wrong. Naomi Watts and Laura Henning were friends, right? So it was sort of like, oh, this is kind of weird that we're going to be doing this, right? That's kind of strange. But like apparently he was like, well, don't worry, we're gonna shoot in really low light. And so like they shot in really low light like 3 or 4 times. And then they're like, okay, cool, this isn't so bad. Then David Lynch goes, okay, now turn it up. And they turned up the light.
Well, right.
And that's the one they used.
So similar to that. This is Naomi talking about the masturbation scene.
Oh yeah.
And shooting that, which it's the most guy masturbation scene I think of any movie with like a female lead, right?
She's like slapping her clit. I'm like, what's going on, girl?
She's trying to get an angry nut. In fact, she looks like, wait, I forgot that I added gifts last night for this.
Yeah. It's like
looks like
incels, but incel, but like hot chick who's somewhat disheveled.
Yeah, it's got a vibrator like everyone else does.
Yeah,
she was too busy thinking about her enemies.
Tears pouring down her face, landing on her chest, jeans moving too much, loud, inexplicable noises.
And then she has to get into her her nice clothes and go to a little function, right? Like
yeah, exactly, like you do.
There were times where we would have to do it over and over again until we got it. The masturbation scene was particularly difficult, and for obvious reasons. First of all, I had a terrible stomachache that day. Do you remember?
No, I don't remember.
And I was making many visits to the bathroom. And obviously it was butterflies. I was just kind of freaking out. And so David created this little tent around me. So in order to make me feel comfortable. And I would go from crying to being angry and, you know, and I think he wanted to do it all in one shot, but because I couldn't get to the place, he did that fabulous shot of the fireplace wall.
Well, that would have been in there anyway.
Oh, would it?
Yeah.
Okay. I remember saying, you know, as my hands are down the pants, aware of, you know, 35 people outside of the black tent. I remember saying, David, I can't do this. I can't do it. And being mad at him for making me do it. And he just said on his, what do you call those things? Megaphones. Okay, Naomi. Okay. That's okay. No cut.
Megaphone. Can we just say
Hearing the word
megaphone?
cut, not hearing any reloading or anything like that. So I'm just keep going. So I remember like being pissed. Like, okay, because I'm supposed to be thinking of my lovely friend and, you know, imagining her. And I was like, I was pissed off that I had to keep doing it. So we just like, I did crying, I did anger, I don't know. It was just wildly uncomfortable. The thing with David is he just keeps you going. You want to please him because he's after something really true, and you don't want to give up. I mean, his theory is that we don't all have to have the same understanding. Different things appeal to different people at different times, and it's not all logical and making perfect sense. But if it's real and true, it links up and you can connect.
Yeah, I think she could have done better with the masturbation myself, but
Yeah, I'm thinking about how I do it. I'm like,
I don't think her hand was anywhere near down enough. Just saying.
it's lower than you think it is. Okay.
Well, it's also very male POV of
Andy, peace and love in my heart. Why are you interrupting for this? Tell us more.
No, that's the thing.
That's the attitude that led to these scenes, by the way.
I'm
Just so
like,
you know.
her hand
Doing a
isn't-
meta commentary.
Her hand isn't down enough and in enough. Like she's just slapping the top there. It's very much a male view of female masturbation.
It's like all those dudes in middle school. They're like, yeah, I fucked a bunch of girls, but when they actually finally have sex for the first time, they're like, oh, that's where it is.
Mhm. There's a lot
Like-
more to it, honey. It's not just.
He's like, Naomi, you're just trying to get a nut. Let's.
Some girls like going up and down. Some girls like circles. Just do one.
Do it more aggressively. Turn it up. He's on the
Up
megaphone.
and
Can we just
down.
talk about? I'm sorry. Can we just talk about the fact that it's a
Yeah, he
these
does
scenes? Why does he have the megaphone?
He uses the megaphone for almost
All right.
every film. which
All
I-
right, flick the bean. Come on.
It's so funny because like
I want you to really get in there.
Everyone who works describes him as like having camp counselor energy. So the idea that he's just like talking into the megaphone, like encouraging her to to molest herself harder.
And it's a
But
project that like
the rest of that scene is I mean, her performance in that scene is amazing. The rest of it, like her facials and the emotion and everything, is incredible. More like, you know, that sort of outshadows the.
It's meant to be exaggerated too. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
it like the whole point is like
That is not the face I make.
No.
It's meant to be. It's meant the whole. I mean, really, the whole movie is like meant to be exaggerated to the point that it makes sense that we were talking about the cornpone, like, you know, gosh, golly, gee willikers, like Jimmy Stewartness of Betty.
Yeah.
Like makes sense when you realize, oh yeah, this is like her imagined innocence in like this entire situation earlier. Whereas a lot of people like seriously getting over the idea that like only part of the movie was a dream was like impossible in when this movie came out. Which is why A Beautiful Mind won Best Picture that year, and also Ron Howard director. Which, like, really, that one?
I mean, it's also kind of nuts that like the theory that all of it is a dream doesn't make sense either. Right?
No,
Like,
doesn't it? It's so clearly not that. And of all the dumb conspiracy theories and just like regular theories about this, and there are a lot of them. To be clear, that's the dumbest one. That it was all a dream. I'm like, okay, is this your first time on planet Earth? Because what would lead you to believe?
Learning about surrealism in general, like, you can't say everything's just a dream.
Well, the one thing I guess that would lead you to believe that is that when we finally get into her reality, right, her mind slipping, and Camilla comes back and she sees her in the kitchen, and I guess you could be like, but that within itself, you're still looking at everything from her perspective, which makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I was gonna say,
I just like when they did the needle drop of my mom's playing tricks on me.
There's like, I don't think there's any argument to make that the second portion of the film is all of a dream. I think there's an argument to make that she's not necessarily the most reliable narrator. I don't think that everyone who is kissing Camilla is staring her dead in the eyes while she does it. I don't fucking buy that. I don't buy that every single person who talks to her like she's like some pathetic child loser who like a bug on their windshield they're trying to scrape away.
Yeah.
Like I can see her perception of reality being warped by her lack of success in Hollywood and like based in reality on you know how poorly people could treat you in that field. But like, you know, obviously we're watching someone lose her mind, and part of losing her mind is being consumed in that paranoid state, like, oh, everyone's out to get me, like to that extent. But it's definitely not.
And then she only succeeded with her help, and even like up to the blonde wig, where it's like, oh, don't worry, now you have this blonde wig, and everything's going to be better because you're more like me. It's like, first of all, no, it's not. Like we'll just start with that. It was fine. You didn't need to do that. But
I feel like you could make the case that I mean, you probably should make the case that the first like 2/3 of it is like a dream, or like, you know, going on in her mind. Maybe even when she's fucking flicking the bean, who knows, for that amount of time.
Well, that's
then the other parts of it, I think the reason that it's chronologically out of order is that it's her memories. Kind of like a lot, like we're looking through her eyes, we're looking into her memories, and this is what she remembers happening, down to the point where, like, of course, if you're like in love with somebody to the point where it's like burning you up, and like that passion is just like consuming you on top of your own failure, consuming you on top of like idolizing the person that you're with, while also hating them for, you know, blaming them for
and feeling like it's your they have the success that you should have while you hate Naz. Is it nazzing, Renee? Was that the term that you said on that one show? I was like, nazzing. Is that am I using the correct Australian colloquialism?
No, I don't even know what you're saying now. What are you trying to say?
The act of female self-pleasure. But anyway, maybe I might have missed. Yeah.
Mazzing, yeah.
Okay, there you go. That like,
yeah.
Like, so the Diane character creates like the Betty character in the dream as a idea of like, well, there has to be some reason why these things are not mine, because I am clearly the best at the role, which is why like the inventive tryout scene with the guy from Return of the Living Dead, which I had no idea, as the director, and just being like, oh my God, which is objectively a great piece of acting by Naomi Watts, but also it's like the first time you can see that the Betty character is good at acting, which is important to the delusion of Diane, which she's probably good, but not amazing. And whether she is or not is irrelevant, because the character of Camilla is playing the game, right? And it's not that there's like this. I mean, we haven't even got into, was it Mr. Roquet, the Michael Anderson? By the way, Trump supporter. Like, rest in peace, but like that guy was around the bend. That's why he wasn't in Twin Peaks: The Return.
Yeah.
Like, there's this shadowy cabal of people that are just doing things to essentially exercise their will, not even for any real reason, and the fact that they just the power play, which does actually happen. But having that be the reason why she wasn't able to do it, which brings up the question of the hitman. So the hitman, which of course has the great scene that ends with the culmination of the best vacuum assassination in the history of cinema. But like the whole thing of like, well, he's trying to get the black book, and he's trying to get away clean, and just having like a rough go of it necessarily. But then you see him again. If you notice, and this is something I watched it last night. I wasn't like Ray watching it right before the show, which is insane, by the way. And if you notice that there is, so it's at the dinner table scene, it's at the party, right? And then like when it goes to her scene with the hitman and pushing the money over, you only hear one crash, because it's a remembrance. So it only happens one time. So to my mind, that means that like the party scene, where she's basically like being made to be like, well, you get to be here as like an attaché, and what did you say her name was again? For the woman that she's in love with, that clearly is like with this other dude, who, as we established, is marginally less douchey than he was before, but just douchey in a different way, which is Justin Theroux's character. That she's giving the hitman money. Well, why would she give a hitman money? Is it to kill Camilla, or is it to kill like the I told every little star girl that was originally this is the girl? I don't know. It depends on which part of it that you believe, right? But you could arguably say that like it could be like a bribe for anything necessarily. But the guy is a hitman. So.
Yeah, I mean, my reading is that it's for Camilla, and that's why she goes so insane by the end of it, and that's why there's so many Sunset Boulevard references throughout the movie.
But for sure. But the other reading could be that like that there was the character that was moved out of the way. That like it never, when you see the corpse, you never see whether it is Diane. You never see whether it's Rita or Camilla. Whatever. I need a flow chart to keep up with this. But like you never see any of that. But you also see like the girl that is this is the girl in the dream, where it's like, well, what if that was the original pick and like she got bumped off? I don't know. That's a possibility as well. And none of it's like a clear reading or anything along those lines. But what is very clear is the Diane character feels like that the Laura Henning character owes her success to her in some way. Mm-hmm. Like she feels that way, whether it's based in reality or not. And so that has to do with like that like just like seething incel style hatred and love at the same time of what's happening, which is what makes this a fantastic film. Because even again, and to think that there are people that when this movie came out didn't even understand this aspect of it. It was just like, oh, this is a bunch of nonsense. All right, yeah, let's go back and watch A Beautiful Mind. Sure, is actually astounding. But I was actually thinking about the fact that like literally when you hear the crash of dishes in that one scene that are at the party and at the at Winkies, you only hear it once. So which one was the flashback? I don't know. I've seen this movie 5 times. This is the first time I thought about that. Thank you. Anyway, my TED Talk's coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she had Camilla killed, and that's why she's like going as insane as she is. I didn't even think honestly of the possibility that she could have had the Adam Kesher character killed, though. But I think that it's kind of fascinating that the hitman too. It's each person that she feels like has either wronged her, or in the case of the hitman, like that she feels like she regrets giving him the money. I guess like
like when he says, "Are you sure?"
Like,
are you sure there's no going back or whatever?
In her brain, like in her mind, she's torturing all of these people that have either wronged her or that she regrets giving them money. Like, so when that guy has the extended scene where he's plugs the first guy and then the woman thinks it's a bite, which you can just walk away at that point and say, yeah, you got bit by something. All right, peace. But like that whole extended scene is her using her like power, I guess, to in her mind to torture the fucking guy that she gave money to for that
because he didn't complete the job, so he must be a fuck up, and here's maybe how it went. It was something like this.
That was my read, was like that extended scene is like her envisioning that this actually very capable hitman is a bumbling idiot who's terrible at his job, which would explain how Camilla got away, right? She doesn't die in this story. The hitman isn't successful. She lives, and there we see him fucking up his job. He's not good at it. He's out here. He's still looking, for the girl. He's involved in like other, I don't know, shady business. He's working with sex workers, and he's not very good at gathering intel. Like this guy, I gave him the money. He didn't finish the job, even though obviously she's just trying to rationalize. She's well aware that she's dead.
Yeah, well, I mean, she has.
Well, he's hanging out with Michael DeBar. What do you expect?
she has the key in front of her, so he clearly did like complete the job. But like it's a pretty funny fantasy of like, what if he I don't know, maybe he just fucked up. Maybe she's not really dead, and I don't, like my whole emotional state that's falling apart. Like maybe she'll walk in here at any minute, and then she kind of does as her brain's like going to fucking, like.
But again, it goes back to that conspiracy mind of like everything that is like all of Diana's woes have something to do with like some really ornate and crazy conspiracy that's going on. Whereas in reality, it's like as much luck as anything else, but in her mind, just like, again, put into a modern parallel, all these people that are all with these modern conspiracy theories, like it has to be like, wow, you think everything's really that well organized? Everybody is just like flailing
I mean,
that's the reality.
Sometimes literally.
Which is why the opening of the movie is so perfect, where it drives past the Sunset Boulevard sign.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Sunset Boulevard is like one of my favorite movies, and Norma Desmond is a character in that. Like, she's built this thing around her that her fame will never go away, right? Like, she's still like this silent star, and they're just waiting for her to come out of her mothball-ridden fucking.
It was the movies that got small.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and so like and she's constructed this whole thing around her. David Lynch is kind of racing past that because this is someone who never achieved the level of success that like Gloria
but
Swanson
thinks she
did.
should have.
Yeah,
thinks that she should have, and has built a reality to explain that away, which has led to some interesting results.
I agree with Ray on the also the projection. Like, everything is projected towards Camilla, I feel like, and she ties everything back to her failure with Camilla is the kind of the spark that makes everything fall apart. She's put so much onto Camilla, and that failure then leads to all the other failures. And I think that's why she's so obsessed with Camilla.
Mm-hmm. Well, meanwhile, Camilla, the real Camilla, is probably like, hey, we're both trying to get some work here. You're hot, I'm hot. Let's hang out. And then Diana gets obsessed.
Sex or something. Mm-hmm.
When it's Camilla, later, you can't even really tell. We're seeing it again through an untrustworthy, set of eyes. We're seeing her being all upset about this, but was their relationship really like that, or was that the fantasized relationship that she wanted with Camilla? She's always she shows that she's in the background. Was it ever an open thing? Or did they just hook up once, or did they never hook up and she's just obsessed with her? There's not really a
female Joker.
I was gonna say Rashomon of Scissoring, but that was
you can't really, and she's so pissed off every time anyone goes near Camilla, or she's being attacked. But then, you think for a second, oh man, this Camilla chick's a bit of a bitch. She's really rubbing it in. What a cow! She invited her to the party.
Not like Diana did. Let me tell you.
But did she really? Because you can't trust that what we're seeing is actually.
In fact, you've been shown you literally can't trust anything she.
Yeah. You can't trust this bitch.
You're just sort of exploring her level of pettiness in the dream.
Yeah.
She reads lines with the Rita character, and the Rita is bad at it. She's very bad at it, and then she is so overly complimentary to the Betty character.
Oh my god, you're so amazing!
Right. So it's just even in there, she needs that reassurance from her.
It's an overdose of copium. That's what you're literally watching through her mind.
Pure uncut copium, cut with a razor blade.
But I think those are interesting points where it's again, there's no indication at the party, and the party is also notable because you see the cowboy again, but only in the background. Oh crap, it's the cowboy. Is that the first or second time? Wait, you're where are we? What's happening? Where is this in the timeline? But she's trying really hard at the table, and the Coco character, who is the mom, Justin Theroux's mom, in that timeline. In that reality.
I was when I was rewatching it, I was yeah, shit, she owns the apartments.
Right. And then it's sort of how much of what the Diana character, what did she think was real and what was real? Because you certainly can't tell from their interactions, which is basically just that Camilla wants her there. I want you to be here. I think this might be good for you. Maybe it could be hey, you'll meet some industry contacts. Maybe you'll career, blah, blah, blah.
Or our friendship is so close that it would be weird if you weren't.
It'd be weird if you weren't here because we came up together. Yeah, that goes back to the Mean Streets
everybody knows
thing,
we're
right?
close, and then it becomes a thing where they're oh well, they must have problems. She didn't show up. So if she's trying to hide the fact that they had a relationship where they did hook up, right? I'm not saying they had as much of a relationship as she thinks that they should have, but if they did sometimes hook up or something secretly, right? It would be weird if her best friend wasn't there to see her announce her engagement, and that's kind of
and maybe they were, But like because Camilla's now the successful actress, because what's the name of the movie that like it's the story of
Sylvia North story.
Yeah.
Sylvia North, but it's clearly like a 50s thing, right? So traditional values. So maybe
The
like
50s.
being the 50s, maybe being an out lesbian wouldn't necessarily be good for her like profile as an actress. So
Yeah.
maybe like she wants her to be there, but can't publicly like. There's that too, right?
Or she's bi.
There's so many views. Like
Sure.
you can't. Yeah, because like
But
there's
being
this
bi,
scene-
but Andrew, no, I'm gonna let me knock on Andrew here for a while. It's the same problem.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same problem.
But it is bi
1950s.
visibility right
Oh,
now.
don't worry.
It's
Don't worry,
bi
she's bi. No,
it's
like
bi
the religious right.
visibility week.
They don't care. You may as well be like, yeah. Again, the Rashomon of scissoring yet again.
Yes.
Maybe
Who
they're
knows?
just,
Doesn't matter
you know,
if you're bi or lesbian.
Maybe they're just
they don't
real
want
good
it.
friends. Who knows?
They're just roommates.
exactly.
And they were roommates.
But that's the thing is it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because like if that's her public persona, she'd be made like the next big actress and this is a very successful film, blah blah blah, et cetera, et cetera. Then the idea would be like, well, we can't be seen to be having a relationship together. I'm marrying the slightly less douchey version of Justin Theroux, or is he more douchey? I don't remember.
No,
I don't remember where
it's the more douchey version.
more
of
douchey
it.
version of Justin Theroux.
Yeah.
That's
More
right. That's
douchey.
right. I'm getting twisted.
In the other one, he's at least like a passionate artist that's like fighting for his creative vision.
He's an
And then
auteur.
He just seems like he's like, oh, and I got the pool. She got the pool boy.
Seems like a real smug dick.
Yeah,
Would
right.
definitely be a resistance lib. Rayyvana, what were you gonna say?
The
sorry.
scene when they're shooting, and he's explaining to the male actor how to basically.
Oh yeah, kiss her like oh god. So
And but then Camilla says asks if Diana can stay, and it's like, is this real? Is this what Diana's thinking? Like she did it deliberately to kind of rub it in,
to flaunt it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like you
Sure.
know what? Yeah.
And then he's
You're
like,
kinda
turn down the
wondering-
lights, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
wait,
and
are
they
they like,
turn
are they
on
gonna
the
bang
lights
like
so
right
he-
there in front of everybody?
Yeah, so he can tongue it. Yeah, because he tells all the rest of the set to leave, except for the actor and
Yeah.
Diana. And then he got at the end of that, he's like, "Turn the lights down," because I'm a king.
I will say.
Well, hold on, Ray. What were you gonna jump in earlier?
Oh, I was just gonna say I enjoyed how her delusions are so much so. The tagline underneath me right now is "Espresso Disliker." So much so that this guy is fighting for his artistic vision, which she views as herself. He locks eyes with her. Yeah. That scene was awesome.
By the way, that's Angelo Badalamenti.
Yes.
Who's great as the guy who, and like when he does the thing where he's just like
yeah.
like it's so like and in pure David Lynch style would just right on it as he just and then they're like, oh man, he didn't like that, did he? Like, no, he definitely didn't. He's vomited into his little napkin.
Yeah,
but that's
he
Angelo
did the-
Badalamenti, his
he
like
did the music,
his
right?
composer partner.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's great.
Which I want to talk about the music in this. I grabbed a thing where he's talking about it with, and he brought Angelo Badalamenti. He brought him to Cannes with them. Like he was one of the people on stage at Cannes. So this is them talking about the music in it, and I wanted to ask Conan about this because this is his last show before he goes on his old tour. So.
Little did you know I'd dominate the entire show, but anyway.
No, I figured. But...
You know, anyone seen Kristina? Is she gonna be on this episode? Kidding, jokes. Sorry, that's all.
The theme of Mulholland Drive. Angelo and I were working. It had nothing to do with Mulholland Drive. And I don't remember why, but I wanted a Russian feel for something. And we wrote, Angelo wrote a Russian thing. And then we were working, I wanted another Russian thing. And so we were working on that Russian thing. But both of them kind of came to a dead end. And so I said, why don't you try, Angelo, put the two together? And Angelo his head is kind of wobbling. He's running the notes in his head. He starts playing, and there's the theme to Mulholland Drive. Unbelievable heart and emotion comes through that music. It's so beautiful. I sit near Angelo, sometime on the piano bench, and I talk in words. It doesn't matter really where we start. Same like with rehearsal, you know, you start where you start, and I talk to Angelo, and he plays what I talk. And if it's not right, I say, no, Angelo, and I have to change my words. After a while, and it happens pretty fast, Angelo will catch something. Angelo, that's so beautiful. And off we go. And that's how it works. Okay, there's a story about Angelo from Blue Velvet. Angelo, we were shooting in the Slow Club, and Angelo is playing piano in a band on stage while Isabella sings Blue Velvet. And so we're setting up shot. The piano is on the edge of the frame. Isabella is in the center. Angelo senses where the camera is, and he starts scooting closer and almost off the piano bench to get in the shot. So once you get that idea about Angelo, he's kind of shameless. I always say, you know, it's sound and picture flowing together in time. Its sound is so important. And so it just seems to be common sense that sound being so important is something that you work very hard on to get it to feel correct.
Yeah, I mean, I had the CD of this, and I listened to that soundtrack obsessively. That was like a whole mood, just like the Twin Peaks soundtrack. Which again, in our private chat, we were just talking about how, like, remember this was going to be a show.
Mm-hmm.
Like right when The Sopranos was starting to like be like, oh, TV shows can do that.
Yeah, and that's why I put the Richie Aprile getting shot in the intro.
But I mean, Badalamenti and Lynch have to be like one of the best combinations of filmmaker and soundtrack artist, like in the history of film.
In the beginning of this, right? The not the jitterbug part, but like the opening credit montage or whatever, where the car is driving.
I won a jitterbug contest. What?
The 50s. When they're driving through, and like, you know, you see the Mulholland Drive sign, and then there's like those cool shots of like LA and like Hollywood or whatever, like the Hollywood Hills. Like, I feel like you could take that that theme and those shots, right? Like the location shots that are like beautiful throughout this, and you could put together like an opening montage for an every week show, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, with the like that music. I feel like I could envision that as soon as I realized that it was supposed to be a show originally.
Yeah, and I think it would have been very successful. And it's too bad that yet again the executives, you know, twice bitten, were like didn't really get it, you know, and it's a shame because it's I'm sure that would have been astounding, but it does make for a great. Honestly, it's crazy because if I was gun to my head, who would point a gun to my head for this? But like, what's your favorite David Lynch film? It might be this one. Like, but it's crazy because it's like it wasn't even conceived as that. Like it's absolutely nuts, and that like it was like, what would this TV show have been? It's Mulholland Drive. What would this TV show have been? I don't know. I think it would have, and I think it would have hit right as Sopranos was becoming, what we knew to be like the first stage of prestige TV, which is long over, by the way. Peace and love in my heart, but gone.
I mean, yeah, I don't know how you would turn this into a show, really, because
I would love to see him try. You know, like, I mean, arguably, people said the same thing about Twin Peaks when it first started. Like, how are they gonna make a show of this? Got to solve this murder eventually. And I think you just have so many rich characters, and you have so many other things going on. I mean, Lord knows what it would have gone to. Also, important to note, this little tidbit, that Mulholland Drive, and really the only thing that survived was the title, was going to be a Twin Peaks spinoff starring Audrey Horne. But that didn't last, and he did Lost Highway, and he threw away everything but that. The only thing that he kept was the title, which Mark Frost came up with, by the way.
I mean, it's kind of fascinating. I feel like David Chase, like the Sopranos guy, takes a lot of like very Lynchian elements to a lot of some of it's kind of facile, I feel like, but the dream sequences in the Sopranos, I feel like have a lot to kind of take a lot from the David Lynch type stuff, right? Like the talking fish that he sees, and the fucking like there's that he did like entire episodes where it was all like a dream, and you're supposed to be in like after Tony gets shot, he did 2 episodes that are just fully a dream. Like I feel like it takes a lot from like that Lynchian universe. I don't know. It makes me feel like
I think Twin Peaks was incredibly influential as a television show, and in ways that maybe the full credit has not been given to, and maybe that's because the second season's so whack. Which it turns out, if you take like the genius auteur out of the show, you can have all the foundation of the show. You can have like the walls of it, but it's not really the same. But anyway,
When you force him to solve his murder mystery very quickly in the show, very early in the show, what are you left with? But Nadine in high school
doing weightlifting, and it was like, what is happening? Why is this happening? And how can I make it not happen? And I say that as it's one of my favorite shows of all time.
you can be like The Wire, and then be like, oh man, now there's another murder. Oh, maybe I'll just invent one.
But the thing is, you got to understand that this wasn't cable TV. This was network television.
Yeah.
And the only thing I can think of that was this big of a swing would have been the Hannibal TV show.
Yeah.
Hannibal and Friends.
I mean, my only excuse for like how they got away with it, it was like, oh, must have been nobody was watching, because it's like the Mads Mikkelsen one I'm talking about, of course.
I love him.
It's so great, but like
Mads. I think we've had this discussion, Kristina. Sorry.
Yes.
Mads.
But it's like, was anyone watching this show? Do they not have censors on these networks? Like, I mean, I'm like, I can't believe they're getting away with it every week. It's crazy.
Well, it's like those shows where, they start off at, 9:30 at night, and then they're moved to like 11:50 at night. You know what I mean? Like, everyone knows. Oh, I've got the hoodie on. Like, big Millennium fan here, right? Millennium used to come on at like midnight because people thought it was so whack and didn't understand what the fuck was going on. But when it first aired, it was on at like 9:30 after X-Files. So, and it was like, what are they doing? What's going on in here? Nah. And then move it right to the back at the end of the night, but still play it on mainstream.
But then I also think, like, if you look at Mulholland Drive and you look at like the opening scene at Winky's the diner,
yeah,
and you see that whole like literally you're told what is going to happen, but it still manages to be so intense and so suspenseful and so nuts that like it's still somehow a jump scare when you're like, no, he told you what was going to happen.
Yeah.
He literally said what was going to happen, and then it happened, and then it was still scary. And then you're like, nope, I'm good. That's not interesting. I've seen plenty of that before. Like, I mean, crazy to think about. I like if somebody had like the sense to actually say yes to it, but then who knows? Maybe it would have been mid. Probably not.
But I mean, you don't. Yeah, you just don't know. I mean, Twin Peaks, when it was on TV, like I remember, like we had to, we'd sneak out into the lounge room, like, we're still like, I was still young then, even though I'm nearly 43, but I was like still young, and it was like you'd sneak out because it was such a thing. Like it was like Twin Peaks, whoa, like it's very on the cusp. So,
but then let's think about what was popular. Was it 24 spun up around then, right? 24. There was one of the many Law and Orders that was around. Was 2001 when Alias came out? Was the Jennifer Garner show? I think so. Anyway, doesn't matter.
Anyway,
not exactly a bold time for television.
No, there wasn't a lot like that was pushing any kind of boundaries, or there was in any way strange.
Except the boundaries of acceptable bigotry after 9/11.
Yeah.
Well, I did say 24, didn't I?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like 1990 was when it first aired, so there wasn't much else that was, I remember like, I don't know, 90210 talking about lesbians, like
on a very special episode of 90210.
Yeah. I was like, and sexual assault and stuff, and my parents were like, you can't watch this show, it's for adults. And then it was
my parents didn't give a fuck.
That's what's weird. My parents would let me watch it, like sneakingly, but and didn't care, like, but wouldn't let me sit and actually watch it. But I could watch every horror movie as bloody and disgusting since I was about 5.
Your parents are like, it's all right. She's gonna have a podcast about that one day.
They were very forward thinking in that way. Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I could watch as much gore, blood, and guts as humanly possible. But you know, if it had any kind of like weird or sex or any other stuff, it was like, oh no, naughty.
So this is him talking about the TV side of it and the cancellation before it even started, because they filmed. I think they filmed the pilot, and that's it.
Mulholland Doctor is my favorite medical procedural. Says James Smith, by the way. Very good. Very good. That's good.
And thank you for the super chat.
Thank you for the money.
Yeah. One day YouTube will send it over.
Don't worry, I'll never see a
Check out
dime
his
of it.
comic, by the way. Check out his comic, Cactus. Oh man, what is it called? It's something Cactus is in the title. It's really great stuff. They just got a Dave Sim cover for it, so y'all check that out.
Awesome, thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Shots are one thing, but then I like to meet the people, or sometimes Joanna will has people just talk on video. I never make them audition a scene ever. And I like to talk to people or see them talking. And then I get a feeling about them, and I can see if they can make it through the film. Like I'm running scenes in my head, and they'll see this person can go this far or do that, but that it's just not going to work for that. And it goes like that. So eventually, through meeting and talking, I find the people like that. Naomi came in and did not look exactly like the photograph that I had fallen in love with.
It was disappointing.
It was not disappointing.
A little bit.
It was devastating. So I asked Naomi if she could come back with some makeup on, and then she did, and we talked some more like this. Naomi was friends with my assistant's son, and they were talking and jabbering away, and then I see another side of Naomi, and already I was maybe say 98% there. But that day I just said, Naomi's perfect, and she turned out to be perfect. So we went to work on the pilot of Mulholland Drive. The title was going to be used as a possible spin-off of Twin Peaks. And then that didn't happen, but the title came over. We gave the pilot, not yet finished, over to ABC television. And the executive in charge watched this pilot at 6 o'clock in the morning, standing up on the phone, drinking coffee with the thing on a TV across the room, and he didn't like it. So,
on the phone?
Making phone calls, like an executives, they do. So, but, sometimes these things, it happens. Everybody knows that sometimes something looking very negative can be a gigantic blessing. It like with Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive, it's like I see it as a film. We're shooting celluloid. It's scenes, it's actors and actresses and places and mood, just like a film. So my friend Pierre Edelman came over from Paris for a visit, and we were talking, and it was very sad that this thing was stopped. And he said, well, let me talk to some people in Paris and see if it could get money to make it a feature. A thing started that took a year. I mean, it was a long time.
A year and a half.
Maybe a year and a half. I started calling to find out where they stored, the sets, where they stored the props. I started, getting a real bad feeling. All the props went back, they call it back into the stream. Wardrobe back into the stream, sets destroyed. I didn't know what was going to happen. And then right about that time, the contract got done. And that meant we're going. But I had zero ideas. Zero. And this is a true story. That night, the night of the green light, with no ideas, I sat down and did my meditating. And this particular meditation, I dived down in there, and as I say, like a string of pearls, one idea after another came, and I knew exactly what to do.
It is interesting because, like, him being so into TM and stuff, like, it really makes sense, like, how dreamlike and meditative the films are.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to make sure I put this out there. It's Papa Balloon and Cactus, and James is kickstarting issue 3 right now. So go check that out.
Especially if you're listening to the podcast and you can't see all the interactions, which people do.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of fascinating too, right? Like the blue box, like as cool as they did at the end of the clip or whatever. Like it is kind of a connection with your subconscious and a connection with, you know, the dream state, I guess, through like transcendental meditation. Like that does it unlocks something. I mean, if you're looking for ideas of a story and like you know, a coherent or less than immediately coherent narrative, and you're looking to parse out your own subconscious to try to map that for a project like this, like it feels like meditation is something that would really key you into that.
And people overuse dreamlike, like David Lynch, especially in this film. Like this is a dreamlike film,
yeah,
for sure. But like people overuse dream, where it's like, no, using soft focus, that's not dreamlike. Go ahead,
Yeah,
Renee.
well, yeah, I was just gonna say, like the way it's shot and the colors, everything like that is very ethereal, and like it's made to look like it's very much that dream-like, you know, whimsy sort of feeling.
It also mocks you throughout it. Like when she first gets there, she's like, I can't believe I'm in this dream place.
Yeah.
And like as you're trying to figure out like the plot of this movie, and as you're trying to like you know, engage with it, it's like, I can't believe I'm in this dream place. It's almost like David Lynch fucking pointing at you and being like, is it a dream? Is it not? I don't know. Keep watching. Like
I love the scene when they go to, you know, when they go to the club and they see Rebecca Del Rio play like Sing Crying. That scene is so good.
So great.
And I love like the singer Rebecca Del Rio. She actually came over and did a tour here in Australia.
No way.
And my housemate saw her and got like some stuff signed or whatever. And she was incredible. Like really amazing. Like this was not that long ago. She came over. Like but like I was like, I've completely forgot that, but I knew I've listened to the song Crying since I was a kid from Roy Orbison. So I was like, I was like, hang on a minute, that's right. And as soon as she started, like I'd tell from the music and the notes that that's what she was singing. But like that scene is super, like, I don't know, there's something really poignant about that scene.
Well, and also plays with the idea of you know, reality and performance, and kind of repeating a lot of the themes that are you know, it makes sense why it's a joiner between like the, you know, what is seen as the dream and reality, because the sort of carnival barker character, they saying that there's no band, like it's all in there. He's down with the bits of like the
best this is salesman of 1943 or something.
Like, but also to the point of like the recorded bit that's like, but this part isn't real, but check this out, you know, and there's a little like like,
and even when like Rebecca Del Rio, like, you know, she falls over and stuff.
She falls over during the song, but it is her singing,
like, dragging her out, and then they leave the backing track playing. It's like
even the lyrics. The lyrics to Crying, right? Like, I was all right for a while. I could smile for a while, but I saw you last night. You held my hand so tight as you stopped to say hello. Oh, you wished me well, but I couldn't tell, or you couldn't tell that I've been crying over you. Like that, like even that tells you a lot about her subconscious state that she's in during, especially during that party scene, right, where she has to go and fake it like she isn't completely in love with her, and you know that she isn't enraged by all of this and isn't plotting her death or whatever. Like, I mean, you know, if
and Roy Orbison, who had a lot of tragedy within his life, also has like one of those voices that like it's like one of the reasons why that cover is so amazing, because it matches in some ways, excels the original, which there's something about Roy Orbison's songs that when they're covered, they don't usually hit as hard. And part of it's like the dude had so much tragedy in his life, like seriously.
Yeah, he lost 2 kids in a fire and like his second wife to a motorcycle crash.
Yeah, even like I was a good friend of mine, one of his like lines, he's like, you're not, if you're really a goth, like do you listen to Roy Orbison? Because he is quintessentially like one of the early goths. Yeah. Whether you want to admit it or not, like the man is sad.
But even like farther into this, it's hard to understand. But the touch of your hand could start me crying. Like that's such a poignant thing.
And from a male as well, Forrest is like key. It's like it's like and at the time that song was made, being sung by a male it's not a third person. This is a female. It's from the male, which was pretty rare to be that emotional.
Yeah, he was also emo before emo.
Emo before emo. Yeah,
we don't hold that against him though.
Yeah.
Can I also say the Palace Theater, where Club Silencio is? It's like the back entrance to the Palace Theater. I've played many shows in that neighborhood, including Down the Way, and I'm going to be playing another one next week at the Redwood Bar and Lounge, which is about 4 blocks from the location of Club Silencio, which is kind of
they closed it, right? It's
Palace Theater, yeah, and also like many things in every city, it's so gentrified now. But back when they shot this, like it was not. That's the best way that I can put it. It was not that way. And now I think it's an operational theater again, like a full-on movie theater and event booking place. But like, yeah, at the time that Mulholland Drive came out, like nobody went downtown in LA. LA is like, it was all like people behind the dumpster. Oh, that's why they would let punk rock bands play, right? Because it's like, what are you gonna bother? Nothing. Just don't get killed, This guy's full of shit. Who the fuck is who's this guy, Rayyvana?
What are you talking about,
Who hurt
Stock?
him?
Who is this guy that's full of shit? What the fuck are you talking about?
Who hurt this guy?
Conan, I think you peed him off.
Feel free to fuck off forever and die. Thank you.
Is really angry that you mentioned the gentrification.
I know. I always said it's downtown LA got gentrified.
Yes.
It's an objective truth. Look, man. I don't know what to tell you.
Take it easy.
But yeah, I think that it's a really interesting location.
We'd like to welcome all of Rayyvana's fans onto the show.
I didn't know where that came out of.
You won't all be called out individually and threatened. Don't worry.
It's fine. I say worse stuff to them on a daily basis. So.
I was gonna say, if you're on Rayyvana's channel,
we never talked about though the homeless person around the corner.
Yes.
Somehow we have not.
Yeah,
yet
we touched on him.
That.
Yes.
Unhoused elder god. Thank you.
Because I don't know, like rewatching the movie, something that stuck with me is, well, first of all, she sees these guys who she's imagining are sitting in this diner having this conversation when she's there giving the money to the guy to put the hit on Camilla. And like he says, I pictured this place in a dream. You were standing over by the counter and I was feeling very scared. When I looked back at you, you were scared. And then I imagined this man who's behind the wall. I could see him through the wall, and the dream that he's imagining comes true, which for him is a very scary dream. For her, she wants this dream to be real, but at the end, you still have to go around the corner. He doesn't have to. That guy he doesn't have to walk around the corner and see if the guy is there. He doesn't fucking have to do that. He does, though. Just like she has to eventually, turn the corner and come to terms with what's the reality of her life.
Yeah, that's right.
And then inevitably, ends up killing herself because of the horrific tragedy of her life and the not self-inflicted tragedy also. But I don't know. That's how I sort of interpreted it. But I don't know. Is it like a metaphor for all of like the horrible things that are lurking around the corner in her life. I don't know. So maybe
And then he ends up with the puzzle box.
Right. David Lynch wanted me to gasp every time I see the scene. Doesn't matter how many times I see it. I saw it on Twitter the other day. I still gasped. I know what's coming.
And
I know
again,
it's
you
around the
know
corner.
exactly what's going to happen.
He
You're
just-
literally told what's going to happen. Then they're like, let's go look. I'm like, no, let's leave immediately. Let's not go do that. I'm good. I'm solid.
I mean, it's interesting though that like I feel like that it kind of like represents like the inner darkness, the inner darkness in like in your mind, right? Like everybody's mind kind of has this like dark place, and it almost feels like a therapy session where he's talking to the guy in some ways, where he's like, you know, it's like you bring your therapist to a place and you're like, I need to, you know, make sure that there isn't this scary monster behind the wall. And like the guy's like, all right, well, we're going to take you through it, right? We're going to slowly walk to that wall. And, you know, there isn't going to be a monster thing because this is real life. Like, this isn't a dream. And let's try to, you know, parse this out. And it kind of like he's trying to engage with that darkness in his own mind and dies instantly, or, you know, collapses instantly as soon as it happens because that darkness is there. But in a similar way, like she tries to engage with that darkness in her own mind and it ends up with her killing herself because, you know, like you can't really, like maybe it's too traumatic, maybe it's too dark, maybe it's like, you know what I mean? Like that thing ends up consuming you if you go looking for it.
Well, and then there's something to ask that, okay, that, what's Eyebrow's name? What's the actor's name?
Eyebrows.
We all know who I'm talking
generous.
about. Yeah, one thing. Yeah, well, okay, sure. But what's that fella's name? Anyone remember? I mean, you could also argue that like it's like some extended metaphor for his character, like seeing Diane put out the hit on her lover too, and like, you know, what that darkness is, right? And that ties back into and then it comes back to like the big extended like fame and yearning metaphor of what, you know, the turn of fate that led Camilla to be like the superstar who's got everything going for her versus get into behind the dumpster as well, you know, just as easily. And what is to say, you know, who deserves which fate? You know, that's
I also, I mean, what do you guys think of, or what do you guys make of the so in the beginning we get that jitterbug scene, and I
want a jitterbug contest.
Well,
I just
so
it
you
is
get
like
the jitterbug scene,
jitterbug contest. I just
and then I don't know if it's her parents behind her
Year
or
2000.
Like what kind of contest is this? What are the rules for this contest? I would
She
love
just
to know.
gets to go to Hollywood because of it.
I don't know what this means, by the way.
I don't know either.
He's saying that he doesn't understand what we're talking about,
All right,
essentially.
well, then feel free to again fuck off and die. As I mentioned. Thank you. We got a serious, substantive conversation here about a great movie.
No, but so the elderly people, right? Like I assume maybe it's
Oh
her
my
parents,
God.
or maybe it's are behind her in the beginning of the thing, and then they're the ones that, you know,
Aunt
she's
Ruth
like-
is in there,
yeah,
which is
Well,
like,
and
what? When
so-
is this
so
taking
they're-
place?
They're behind her in the jitterbug contest or whatever, and you
Yeah.
assume like that's kind of her memory of being young and winning. I guess in Ontario they just have jitterbug contests,
And you get to go to Hollywood.
You know, every time I've gone to Ontario, I've never seen a jitterbug contest, so I can't speak to that. It's been a while. I'm not an expert. I could ask Cory Doctorow last night if you know, he's out of
so
let's get Chris Murphy of Sloan on the line. We'll sort of
So you get that scene, and then when she goes into Hollywood for the first time, right? Like those people are with her. It's like Irene and whoever the guy is, and that's like her like welcome to Hollywood moment. She made friends. She's so wholesome. She can make friends with, you know, this elderly couple on the plane that, you know, she just started talking to. But then they're the ones that chase her through the house at the end.
Yeah, when they're little.
Of
That
her-
literally
that
crawling
fucks
underneath me up when they're like little and they come through the door and then they go big.
Yeah.
And also, when they're at the airport, I was like, how come they get into a limousine?
Yeah.
Why do they go in a limousine? I was
Why are
like,
they smiling like that?
yeah, why are they so creepy? Yeah, and then they get in that long limousine and they're like, ee, and I'm like, what the fuck?
And it looks like they're going to run into that minivan.
Yeah. And
Like,
I don't know,
everything
maybe
about that's so unsettling.
And like Conan said, the dialogue between them all is that really rehearsed cookie cutter dialogue that is laughable when
It's
you're
like
watching.
a Doris Day movie kind of stuff.
Yeah,
Like,
And it's
totally, yeah.
dang it. Like,
Gee whiz, what Hollywood? Whoa, I can't believe I'm finally here.
But I mean, that's
Yeah.
actually kind of what they were. What I think Lynch was going for was like that classic Doris Day kind of wow. If you go back,
Country girl in the big city.
Yeah.
Well, it's her most innocent / uniquely talented, even though she's still a nepo baby in her mind in that one too. But her talented innocent side or whatever that you're dealing with, and then which makes it all the more stark when you actually realize, like, oh no, this is like probably the most jaded, fucking mentally slipping person you've ever seen in your life, despite the fact that she still manages to kind of fake it. I mean, in the the party scene up to the point where she freaks out, and then we're in the room with the guy
Okay, so what about the blonde woman who kisses
Melissa George, who is also Australian.
Yeah, and who also has the same name in the other part as the I'm sorry,
Camilla Rhodes is
Yes.
who she is in the dream. Yeah.
And then she kisses her, which is almost like a metaphor of like sleeping her way to the top too. It's like, but who is she in the like reality versus the dream? And it's so interesting of that she's in both places, yet we still don't know who she is.
I mean, I assumed that she was just like a friend of Camilla's, right? Like, just another one of the friends that she has that go to the same parties and they're in all the same movies. She like gets her, because she's like, I'm guessing she's a star at that point, and she kind of has her like
She's
little
the one
entourage.
that the mafia are like, you must choose her.
But she can't be Camilla Rhodes. She can't be the other character, because Rita's the other character.
Well, and that's what comes back to like that being the dream state, and sort of like this is the scenario that she imagines she couldn't have ever gotten that role because like the fix was in for it. The cowboy,
because it's the Sylvia North story. It's the same story, both that she says later. That was my first role and I wanted it so bad, and we met because she ended up with it, and I love that it's like. It's such like a facile child's version of like what it must be like in like the underground of Hollywood or something, where it's like, oh well, there's a mafia guy. There's like these mafia guys that really want her.
There's a cowboy. There's
the cowboys. Like they must have also hired this cowboy to fucking threaten him. Like there's just so many layers of like they're all threatening him, and
there's some muscle that took out Billy Ray Cyrus, who we've firmly established as an alpha.
He really wanted me. He keeps staring at me like the director, but he couldn't have it. And because of the mafia and this cowboy and also this weird little dwarf guy that has a huge head and a small body, like they're all pushing for, like, it can't just be one of those things, right? Like it's an incoherent plot because it's her own version of how she lost out on her first.
Because it's an incoherent rationalization. Yeah. Absolutely. No, and I think that like it's not meant to pass scrutiny.
Yeah.
That comes back to the how much can we trust from this narrator? It's so
nothing. You definitely can't trust
like,
anything from
it's
this
all
narrator.
completely skewed, and you just got no clue how much of it is real and not real, or imagined in her mind, or projections of obsessions or anxieties or failures.
Yeah, because in your own mind, you're not a failure. You're a successful, talented artist, and people are just failing to see that.
See it, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's what makes both the dream and what we see as reality. Because it's and y'all are gonna hate me for this, but it's kind of like how The Room is like trying to tell a story of a breakup, but the guy's trying to tell the story like he's not the bad guy, and this is almost kind of the same way. Except it's intentionally like that, and it's not bad.
No, there definitely is some like Tommy Wiseau energy to the actual character of Diane Selwyn, right? Like the unfulfilled artist that is just so desperate to kind of make it, and has so many different resentments and grievances. Like if you watch the if you watch the not The Room, but like the one that James Franco and fucking Seth Rogen made, like that movie. If you watch that version of it, like he's like, everybody's against me. Like there's just like this resentment, this built up resentment when you feel like, you know, no one's ever seen your genius and they all keep rejecting you. And it's not that, like, it's not you, it's them. They can't see, you know, that your perfect stardom, and you're meant to be a
There
star.
must be some reason why. There has to be some outside influence, some reason why it would.
There has to be a little person sitting in a room encased in glass,
With
calling the
glass
shots.
going, no.
Yeah, there has to be.
I'm looking right at him.
This is the girl. I also like that they flip back a lot of the like.
Can I say
dialogue.
that's how he cast Rita / Camilla as well. He literally saw her photo and was like, "This is the girl," which is amazing because that's like one of the many corollaries of the movie, right?
He's also mocking. I mean, when we watch that clip, right? Like he's mocking the concept of making people like read a scene. Like he's like, I'd never make people. So it's like it's his own.
But he didn't make Laura Herring read the scene. Like he literally was like,
it's his own disdain. It feels like for that kind of audition, right? Like like I need to see the person, but like we can get them to act. You know, like
it's the first time Tommy Wiseau has been compared to David Lynch. I think you're probably right about that, James. You're probably right.
This is the 50s. Everybody's against me.
It's no longer your film. That's a great line, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a well, yeah. It's like, and what does he say? Like, oh, you can do whatever you want for the rest of the cast, but you know.
Yeah, I was watching a different interview with Lynch, and he was talking about how like if you have final cut, unless you have final cut, the movie is not yours. And you know, it was a lesson he had to learn early in the game. And I guarantee you that line is probably about Dune. You know, like that's
sure. Yeah, that makes sense.
And also I think he also mentions like where he's been, you know, where he's tried to make things and they've failed, whether they be, you know, because he hasn't had final cut or people have come in and tried to twist that. Like there's this really good video on that is circulating on like TikTok and Instagram Reels at the moment of him cutting sick over like the producers and stuff saying he's only got 2 days to shoot this particular thing, and he's like, he's just going mental. He's like, it's not possible, and it's just like, this is ridiculous. Like how you like talking about the process and everything, and like just he's talked a lot about his disdain for the process and having to, you know, having those outside influences get too involved and try to take over what you're doing.
When you see the girl in the picture that was shown to you earlier today, you will say, "This is the girl." The rest of the cast can stay. That's up to you. But the choice for that lead girl is not up to you. Now, you will see me one more time if you do good. You will see me 2 more times if you do bad. Good night.
The lights flicker off as he walks away from his dude ranch.
Uncle Alligator
back into the swamp. Are there swamps
it's a swamp
in LA?
up there? Yeah.
Okay.
No, not really.
There's tar pits.
But
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Not really. It's not a swampy
Maybe
country.
We had a swamp installed.
And
listen, kid, if you need a swamp for this picture, you'll have a swamp.
There's also a thing that I was reading where they mentioned like the, you know, the parallels obviously between like the American dream and the fantasy of Hollywood and all of that from obviously people within Hollywood. But not only was he making a comment about that, but also a comment about how audiences want, you know, at that time, it's very, I guess we're talking Beautiful Mind versus Mulholland Drive. People want the nicer, you know, they want the Hollywood, and they don't want the reality. They want the fake. So
yeah, well, I mean, it's both.
It's also taking a jab at that as well.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
like
it's both an industry that works on reality, right? Like it's an industry that works on performance that actually chews up and spits people back out, like on like a mass scale, right? Like people are constantly being fed into like the Hollywood machine, and a lot of them like either die of a drug overdose, some kind of murder, they lose their money. Like there's all these really sad,
end up
tragic
in
stories.
living in tent city.
Yeah. So like it's like it's an unreal industry, an industry based on fantasy that's selling fantasy that actually chews up and spits out people in the real world. So I feel like that very much is part of the commentary of this. His own feelings about,
By the way, other Best Picture nominees for that year: Gosford Park, Moulin Rouge,
Come on now, Baz.
and Fellowship of the Ring, Lord of the Rings.
Hell yeah.
I mean, Lord of the Rings, I'm not gonna. That's a good film. Sorry.
It's great.
Just see me one more time if you do one more time.
That was scary.
That was good.
But Lynch did win Best Director for Mulholland Drive at Cannes. So
he did, which counts for more. But again, just goes back to this is a good example of a movie that's been
I'm still pissed.
remembered well by history.
Yeah, I'm still pissed. I don't take Oscars seriously because I'm still pissed that Erin Brockovich won Best Film against fucking Requiem for a Dream.
Yeah,
Julia Roberts won Best Actress against Ellen Burstyn for her role in fucking Requiem for a Dream. I'm like, how? That to me sums up. Yeah, that's the cowboy in the background.
Yeah, and again, it's absolutely, and its history has been kind of Mulholland Drive. It's found its audience. It's been recognized as a masterpiece, right?
I mean, there's a lot. There's a certain subset of people online and in real life that I know people that have made being David Lynch fans a big part of their personality.
Oh
I have friends.
I've got a follower on my film log Instagram whose name is Mulholland Oates, which I think is pretty great. And that's her whole deal, and she's great, and I'm glad to know her. But it's it is it's a fandom that's very specific, and it's not nearly as obnoxious, at least I feel, than a lot of them. But
they had the David Lynch Festival here in Chicago. I'm gonna say 2 years, a year and a half ago now. And I didn't go. I wanted to go, but I didn't. But yeah, there's a big fandom of nerds that love David Lynch.
Yes.
They are nerdy people. We are nerdy people. That's who was there at that festival. But yeah, not necessary. I've seen some weird stuff trying to defend him signing the Polanski letter, which is obviously indefensible, trying to bend over backwards to justify that. You just like the movies. That's fine. You can just say you like the movies.
Yeah, you like the movies. I'm fascinated by Lynch just as a person. I love listening to him talk. I love him as a character and a person, even without his films.
You followed his weather reports?
I watch his weather reports.
Them. I live for them.
It's Friday once again.
It's a Friday.
That amazing biography documentary on him is just phenomenal.
Did anyone see the Lynch Oz documentary that came out last year? I was very interested in it, but
no,
I didn't realize it was basically never going to go to streaming in the U.S. So I would have maybe got off my ass to go see it. But
that guy apparently has made a whole bunch of different mashup documentaries. That's his whole thing. That director.
I mean, look, David Lynch absolutely has a Wizard of Oz fixation, and there's even you can shot by shot. There's the whole have you guys seen that here? I can look it up. I'll show, not tell. How about that?
It sounds good. While we're doing that, I do have a question for Renee. Was Australia angry in 1987 when Crocodile Dundee lost to Hannah and Her Sisters for Best Screenplay?
Look,
Hannah and Her Sisters. Jesus Christ.
I don't think we ever really thought we'd win. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Australians are just happy to be in the race, mate.
So here's the entrance to Mr. Is it Roque? Like Roque?
Roque.
His office?
Roque, like Roque.
Yeah, the second one down on the left. That straight up to me is like Twin Peaks, straight up.
Yeah. Oh, for sure, absolutely. But here's the wizard's home over here. Yeah. There's a smoke in the bedroom for no reason. There's a smoke in Oz. There's the green pillars on Winkies, which is the same thing if they're in Oz. This is great, by the way. Tree face and apples at Sierra Bonita. Thank you. Can you tell a dude wrote this site?
But this guy, so Alexandre Felipe is the name of the director that did the Lynch Oz thing,
Mhm.
and some of the other ones he's done are The People versus George Lucas, Doc of the Dead, Memory, The Origins of Alien, and like 7852. Like he did that documentary on the 78 shots that they did for Psycho.
Oh,
so all of his stuff is like.
Are any of them any good? That's my question.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't.
I've heard
I
mixed
have
things
heard
about
of
the George Lucas one, and I think everybody who like is an Evil Dead fan liked the or that was Evil Dead, right? The Doc of the Dead.
Doc of the Dead. Let me see.
I can't remember if it's Evil Dead or
Could be George Romero.
Yeah,
we'll get our top researchers on it.
Well, he has both Simon Pegg, George Romero, and Bruce Campbell in it. So I think it's tracing the history of the zombie genre.
But
movies with dead in the title. Waking the Dead is in it for some reason. Who knows why?
Shaun of the Dead.
John Waters is in.
Listen, kid, it has to have dead in the title. It ain't gonna sell.
It's Conan. It is on Apple TV.
Lynch Oz is? Oh, okay. I'll check it out. Yeah.
Send you the link.
Fantastic. I will take a look at that. There's so much we have not gotten to with this movie. This movie is so goddamn dense, and that's what I love about it.
Colors.
The blue, I love the blue key. Keep the blue key.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about that very much, about that, like, kind of coming in and out, and that's how you kind of realize what's, it's whether it's in the dream, not dream.
Well, and also
opening the box and the box being empty, and when she asks the hitman what is going to be in the box, and you know what I mean.
Well, no, there isn't a box. What the thing that?
No, but that's what I mean. Like, there's just,
with
yeah.
The thing with the key is that he just said he would put the key. It is a weird question to ask the guy, like, what does this key go to? But he's like, oh, I'll just put this key under to make sure that I mean, whether it's Camilla, I think it's Camilla that gets killed, but or the.
I think
director,
it is too.
Yeah. But like he's gonna slip it under somewhere, and then you see it on her table, and that's when you can kind of tell the chronology of it, because when the key's on her table, that means that it's after the fact, after the party, after she goes to the guy, that when her brain is like going to shit, right? Like she's becoming obsessive about it. And there's multiple scenes where you can see the key on the table. I also think that it's interesting with the red lampshade, which is like one of his.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you realize that the red lampshade is her actual, is just the one in her apartment that when the phone rings or whatever, like, because you hear her same message in the dream, like she hears her own voice, and then for some reason it's Betty, not Rita, that goes, it's weird to hear yourself. Yeah. So like that's when you're one of the first times I feel like you could think like, huh. Like there's like this might turn out to be like a different person.
But Betty and Rita are like this, basically the same person though, as far as the dream sequence goes. Like yeah,
well, it's her own imagined.
Like like she represents both herself and whoever Betty actually ended up being.
Well,
Diane.
I think it represents it represents the codependency, the power imbalance, right? Like
sure, but also let's remember the red lamp shows up at the end of that like phone tree. That like is between the
in Mr. Roke's
Mr. Roke, who's wildly anti-Semitic on Facebook a few years back before he died too, like as well as supporting Trump. So that's like, maybe we were better off with the tree.
Said some crazy things about David Lynch also.
Like said a bunch of crazy shit like as his new brand identity basically. So no wonder he didn't work after Carnival. But like
he's like the Jews made me 3'4".
He's like, James Woods, hold my beer.
Anyway, yeah, all respect to the dead. But that where they're calling each other, and the end summation of which is like that phone call chain, right? We all know the scene I'm talking about where it's like the guy with a really hairy arm for some reason.
The rotary phone.
Yeah, everyone's got like these old school phones, right? Yeah.
There's also the light. They flick on the light, and the light floods down on the phone, so like to make sure that you see the guy's hairy arm.
Right, exactly. So there's a lot of theories about that and what all that could mean, but it has to do with the fact that if it was if it is indeed Diane putting out this hit, right, it would have to do with that, but she doesn't answer. But it's like, well, who they're saying, if like she's not there, not around, whatever, I can't remember what the girl's still missing, is that what she says? It's like one of the three things that Mr. Rourke says the entire movie. That like, is he talking about Diane or is he talking about Camilla? I don't know. But like, it's interesting that no wonder we got the evolution of the arm. No, really, dude was around the bend. There's like a whole article written about it. It's like pretty crazy to see. But like, at the end of it, it's Diane, and there's that red lampshade, which is also considered like shorthand for like a lady of the night as well. And if the real Diane is, nice enough apartment, it's not as nice as the aunt's apartment, but it's a nice enough apartment that's like
She's
it's
turning
implied
drinks.
that maybe that's how
It's
she's.
sort of like me and my housemate were talking about this last night. The apartment is so gross. That kitchen is fucking disgusting.
It's not great. Yeah,
and it's all dank and
Yeah.
that really horrible color scheme that's like a dirty teal, and then like even like the little details, like the stove is like looks like one of those ones that you have to put fucking wood in. Like, it's so derelict almost.
Okay, Michael J. Anderson's still alive. He's invited to Twin Peaks Revival, but he turned it down. He actually didn't turn it down. He started doing it. It was such a pain in the ass, he was thrown off the set. So, peace and love, him still being alive. I'm so glad he's alive to, back RFK Jr., whatever the hell that guy's going to be up to.
Holy
But,
shit, he really is 3'7". I said that as a joke.
No,
He
no.
legitimately is.
Oh, you
No,
nailed
no.
the height?
No, I knew he was like a small person, but I just went with 3'7". I said the Jews made me 3'7". He literally is 3'7".
But it's funny because in this movie he's got a prosthetic body, so he's supposed to be like a
Yeah.
normal sized dude, but he's always like shot and like just looks like a crazy ass looking gangster dude from like, but it's still like, well, it's clearly that dude.
Well, they're
No
trying to
one
make
looks
his
like that
head
guy.
more normal sized or something for
Right.
that character.
When they're doing perspective shots and all that, and I get it. Point of fact, even invoking that character was just that, like with the
Anderson portrayed a man of average height in Lynch's Mulholland Drive using a prosthetic body. What a way to put that on his fucking.
That's on his Wikipedia entry. That's
Yeah.
great.
He did not look normal size. I'm sorry.
No, he looks like. If you saw that dude, you'd be like, "What is wrong with that guy? What is happening with this dude?"
I don't normally stare at people, but I'd be staring at that dude.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just gotta, something comes in the corner in the periphery, and you're like, shit.
He's
You
sitting there
like a
like,
Dick Tracy
nobody knows. Nobody can tell this is a fake
Yeah.
body.
You're a man of normal size and action.
But yeah, there's that very iconic scene of Naomi Watts that like is like kind of like looking at the phone, and like the red lamp is there, and it's sort of like that. There's a lot of people that have interpreted like what that could mean, and not the least of which is that Joe the hitman saying like, "Hey, the job's done." And she kind of is regretting what she's done, or maybe is not regretting what she's done, but just doesn't want to deal with it in any way, shape, or form.
Because I kind of
He dresses like a Dick
got
Tracy villain in real life.
I'm sorry he's at war with everybody, because he seems to be like literally everyone who's ever worked with him is like, yeah, that guy's a pain in the ass. So
yeah, well, he's lucky Lynch used him more than once.
yeah,
If he was such a shithead.
He got thrown off of. He said that he turned it down. He went on to it, and then like they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah, because I remember
he didn't make past the early
said something about the money, like was blaming the money being the issue.
And apparently everybody, when they first started filming, was like, somebody is being a gigantic pain in the ass on the set. Other than that, it's great. And it was him. But like 3 or 4 people were. People are saying more and more that somebody.
Many people are saying.
Would you say that he had an oversized ego?
It's a prosthetic ego.
You have an ego of a man of a normal size. And go.
But
I love how your David Lynch is almost a Wallace Shawn.
You're a man of normal size. See, I would put.
It can save them all.
He has a great accent.
But yeah, the use of color in this is pretty fantastic. That blue really pops, right? Because and then like the red again, it's like noticeable to like, why is that lamp so ostentatious? Also, how are you getting an answering machine without an answering machine anywhere near the phone? But that's neither here nor there.
Could have been voicemail.
The blue
Getting an
smoke.
answering machine on my rotary phone.
Yeah, well, they did have outboard devices. Maybe it wasn't visible. You know?
The blue smoke, I feel like, signifies like the dream state in and out of it, right? Like, because you see the blue smoke at the end of it, and you see the blue smoke at the beginning of it as she's getting like out of her car accident. Like she's the one person that fucking survives the car getting T-boned, and she's like, "Oh, I guess I'm fine." Gets out of the car, and there's blue smoke all around her.
Yeah, I think that well, it's also notable. Laura Henning also got into an accident on the way to meet David Lynch, which is crazy because she hadn't even like read the script yet. At that point. But,
well, by the way, Matthew Film Guy says, I don't know if you guys said it earlier, but it's fun to remember what Mel Brooks called David Lynch, Jimmy Stored on Acid.
How about that?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a great Julie Cruz is getting a shout out in the comments too. Before I forget, there's a great episode of her on Performance Anxiety, which is a podcast I have been on or am going to be on. I don't know if it's been out yet or not, but there's a great episode of Julie Cruz that I would highly suggest for fans of.
And she did pass away, if I remember correctly. Sadly,
she did. She also played the B-52s, which I completely forgot about. It's like, oh yeah, you played the B-52s. That's why.
She was a sweet, sweet lady. She sent me.
She was also really high on edibles in this episode, which is hilarious.
Yeah, she. I met her because she did a collaboration with my friend who's a musician, and
golly, I'm tripping balls.
Yeah, she used to send me photos of her dogs all the time. She's a very sweet lady.
Yeah, not to keep shouting out like the other material. Okay, so back to the white whale of Mulholland Drive, which you could never have the same discussion about twice in any way, shape, or form, right? It's crazy to me to think about like the narrative arc of all this and the duality. I think someone really early on was like, as David Lynch had another movie or Enterprise or whatever that had two strong female leads. I don't know.
Well, I would argue that Twin Peaks had.
I guess Twin Peaks, yeah.
Yeah, like I would argue.
You could argue that Lost Highways had two, even though it's played by the same actress.
Yeah.
Same woman, yeah. But that's another
Whether
double
it's,
movie. That's right.
I mean, he has at least one strong female lead in almost all of his films.
Yes.
Like, yeah, and I would argue, Twin Peaks is definitely two.
Oh, what about Blue Velvet?
Yeah,
Blue
well, I
Velvet.
don't think.
Oh yeah, Isabella Rossellini and
I don't know how
Laura
strong.
Dern.
I don't know how strong Laura Dern's.
Yeah, I was gonna
character
say
is.
I wouldn't describe her as the
She was present.
strong female lead. Present.
Laura
is an
Dern's
apt
capable
word.
of being strong, so you know.
Isabel Rossellini though can take a punch in that movie. So
Yeah, Isabella is badass.
Oh, okay.
She's a badass lady.
Inland Empire had strong rabbit leads. Thank you for rescuing us from that, James. Appreciate it. It's true. That is a harsh joke. Harsh.
No, but I think,
I mean, I like it, but it's like the
Lynch has a good way of kind of using female characters that are either strong, using strong fragility and sexuality. Like he actually has a really good way of doing that, but in a not in a misogynistic or kind of like
right.
Way, but he still gives power to them, which is one thing I like about his films. When he uses women, there's so many emotions and so many things that he uses, but he always kind of brings it back to this kind of feminine energy that is really strong and poignant.
Yeah, no, I heartily agree, and it's again, especially considering that. I mean, there's a whole feminist critique of almost anything Lynch has ever done that is sort of like, is this really feminism?
Right.
Yeah.
Women getting murdered and raped.
Yeah. And you can also say, like, what is feminism? What is your where are you coming from with your feminist critique? I spent years doing feminist theory, and I don't even go into that. You know what I mean? If you want to switch that switch on and go into that mindset, you can do that to almost any film. You can
and
find
they do.
it.
People do on the
You
internet.
can find it in anything, like if that's what you're looking for. You know what I mean? Sometimes you need to look at things as they are, and And people forget that that's why feminist stuff and all that sort of stuff is a theory. It's theoretical. You're looking at something from a theoretical framework. You're not looking at it as, from that, the reality or, the artistic expression.
Those conversations are this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's me right there. I was with it. Oh, Jesus Christ. Here we go again.
Here we go. Yeah, exactly. And there's always that.
So I think it might be time for us to do the thing with the stuff and the other thing, right? Is that vague enough?
Yeah.
Is that vague enough for us? So, of course, speaking of people having their say on the internet, that, of course, there is a social media site for film lovers called Letterboxd that everybody gets to participate in. And isn't just the major critics of the world almost all wrong about this movie, by the way. Objectively wrong, too. Not just different opinion. No, you were wrong about this. And there is a difference. Everybody gets to have their say, bottom-up democracy, best expressed in a pithy manner, be the master of pith, and keep it succinct, keep it enjoyable. And these are the reviews for the film that we're covering, where we put them on the screen and we read them out and goof on them and agree with them and et cetera, et cetera. These are Letterboxd.
That's what winding up that bit sounded like.
Really?
What?
Really?
It sounded like you're like, well, this is where and then you're like Letterboxd.
I heard you clearly for what it's worth.
Thanks, Ray. You want to start our own Rebel show?
Maybe my brain is starting to melt.
I think
I heard Conan
ADHD
clearly.
is kicking in, bros.
All right. Anyway, these are Letterboxd one-liners from Mulholland Drive. Insane first date pick on my part.
See, I want to know more information from this. Like, if you take a date to this, like, do they get a second date?
Would for me. I'd be like, fuck yeah. I'm in.
Yeah, well, this is from a chick too, so I'm sure the dude would have enjoyed himself.
Or maybe it's another girl,
Maybe
and they're like, you know what? I need to get the fuck out of here.
Right.
This is
She's
the
gonna
only
put a hit
lesbian
out on
movie
me.
that's showing.
Girls say, I know a place, and then take you to Club Silencio.
There's worse places to end up after a night out, you know?
It actually looks pretty lit. I was like,
Also, it's probably 3 a.m. when they're there, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment. That's pretty late in the
Yeah, because it's like 2 a.m. She goes, it's 2 a.m. By the time they get dressed and changed, I'm thinking 3 a.m.
By the time she had that wig on.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's like an hour for the wig alone, right?
Yeah, because she doesn't even have a wig net, by the way. She's just pushing her hair in there. And her dress was hot.
What the hell did David Lynch smoked?
What the hell did David Lynch smoked?
Hey, you gave 5 stars though.
First of all, he watched it in 2566. So what the hell? What the hell did Big Usama smoked? By the way, how am I the only person that liked this review? I was like, that's amazing. That's art in and of itself. That's as much art as the movie is being discussed. I tip my hat to you, Big Usama. Babe, I can't talk right now. I'm having lunch at Winky's Diner.
with your friend from the dream. That guy comes off like as his therapist. I don't know why. In my brain, I'm
I
like,
get that. It's got that vibe. Yeah.
It's like it's like you meet up with your therapist. You're like, I want to meet at this diner because I keep having like a stress dream about.
I want to meet at this diner. They have a fantastic breakfast special.
And this explains why he makes him confront the dream, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. How have I gone this long without the cowboy in my life? Yo, facts. The cowboy rocks.
Yeah, you know what I love too? That outfit that he wore was from what is it? Tom I can't remember the guy's. It was the first silent film cowboy star. It was like some like Tom Mix, I think his name was. And but he didn't. That wasn't a set costume. The producer just showed up wearing that dude's clothing, which was like really like these things are not just like these things are belong in a museum. And he just rocks up in it. So you know,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, because the guy is like a big producer. He's produced like 100 films or something, I think.
Yeah.
So he looks like he should be an
got-
actor. I don't know how that's the first time that anyone's put him in a film.
No, it's kind of remarkable actually. I mean, if you think about like the fact like how perfect he is and
and the weird line read
how
too,
memorable.
just adds something to it.
Well, sure. So yeah, the guy's name is Monty Montgomery, by the way.
Yeah.
Monty Montgomery. And
That
he's
is not a
That's
real-
even a
I
good
love it.
actor name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Monty Montgomery. Oh, I got Monty Montgomery. Get him in this picture. But he produced Wild at Heart and David Lynch's Hotel Room, which was a TV miniseries. He produced 3 of those episodes. He produced a whole bunch of stuff. He's done a bunch of stuff. He just was never in front of the camera, and I was like, Jesus Christ, he should have been under the camera the whole time. Crazy.
Yeah, he looks a lot like I was trying to think when Forrest said he looks like another actor. There is an actor that he looks so much like, which is why originally when I saw him, I thought he was an actor.
It's like, are you trying to produce this because you think it's good, or is it because David Lynch has all the hype? It's like, I don't know.
That is a great, because Justin Theroux is being a bit of a pain in the ass smart, which
Yeah.
as we established, he's less of a pain in the ass there than he is later. But his character is obviously not taking it seriously, and it's, I don't know. It's a good takedown of needless japing from people without consequence.
It's also like I guess frustrated creative trying to write a screenplay in their mind, you know what I mean, with words like, oh, are you really doing this, or are you trying to be a smart aleck? And it's that is something that I can see as a person that writes and isn't necessarily very good at writing, how the dialogue you would have a cowboy say would sound.
Yeah, I was like, smart aleck. I was like, why is he saying smart aleck? I would say,
no curse words in the dream part. That's true. That's a good point. It's no
because you would say smart ass. You'd say smart ass. Oh, smart ass American, but smart ass over here. But smart aleck just sounded odd. It was too.
I mean,
it almost makes it creepier though.
Yeah, exactly, because it's smart aleck, and I'm like,
because he's so intimidating too. There's just this intensity to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because he's got such a unique face, and just.
He also has all these there's all these really corny lines going into it. He's like, what, am I supposed to mosey on down to the stable or something? And she's like, yeah, kind of.
Of all the weird, strange things in this film, why pink paint?
Good point.
You gotta Barbie that shit up.
Yeah, it's gonna say it was ahead of the curve for the Barbenheimer phenomenon.
Yeah.
It's Barbenheimer once again.
Billy Ray Cyrus and her are probably just sitting there going I'm so glad your husband did that to you, because now we can go to the Barbie movie.
I'm just still mind blown about Billy Ray Cyrus being in a David Lynch film.
I was mind blown when Billy Cyrus says, "When I wake up in my own pink world." Yeah.
When I was watching this just now, I was thinking man, who is that Billy Ray Cyrus looking motherfucker? And looked it up oh, it's Billy Ray Cyrus.
It's Billy Ray Cyrus.
You can't treat your wife like that, buddy. I don't care what she did.
Mentally, I'm behind the dumpsters at Winky's Diner.
I have some
Feel better,
friends that
dude.
hang out behind the dumpster at Winky's Diner,
Oh, wow.
The best part is when Betty asks Rita, a woman with very severe amnesia, if she's ever had sex with a woman before. Girl, how the fuck would she know?
You don't forget something like that. You don't forget your first lesbian experience. I don't care how bad the car accident is. That's her one memory. She's like,
Yeah.
I have had sex with a woman before.
Yeah. But I like their answer is I don't know. I was like, well, yeah, it is hilarious. Speaking of which, I'm very confused and very turned on at the same time.
Word.
Horrifying trash monster is the most earned jump scare of all time.
True.
Word.
It continues to be so.
Hard agree, mate. Yeah.
By the way, that role, right, is just credited as bum. Word bum.
Fantastic. If you play this slowly enough, you can actually watch Miley Cyrus being conceived.
It's funny. I was just about to say that Billy Ray Cyrus says that if it wasn't for David Lynch, like there never would have been a Hannah Montana.
Well, I mean, they are similar, right? Like, there's two different personalities of.
There's wigs in both, blonde wigs.
Exactly.
But Billy Ray Cyrus actually said that. There you go.
There you go.
He also said he
also said, "Don't break my heart, my achy breaky heart."
He said
It's another
David
quote
Lynch.
of his.
He loves David Lynch, and he changed his life. He felt a little bit dark in the film, and he said, "I remember feeling this might not be what God had in mind."
I just don't think he'd understand.
I love that Weird Al's Achy Breaky Heart parody is literally just don't play that song, that Achy Breaky song.
Yeah.
Such a rotten song. It's not great. This is the greatest movie ever. This is the greatest movie ever made, I say, as I watch the 5th Mulholland Drive explained video on YouTube and still don't understand anything.
they all are like Mulholland Drive explained finally, and it's like.
Oh,
yeah,
I'm sure. One, huh?
I'm sure your take is going to be so good that.
Yeah, it's got to be this guy. This guy cracked the code. Everybody, let's watch for this guy. Anyway, those are Letterboxd one-liners for Mulholland Drive. Please follow the show. Oh my God, I can't even do the pointing with these boxes as small as they are. No Hey Banda Movie Night Extra, the Bouncer Club Silencio, your host Forrest Miller over there. He is representing the show, logging all the stuff that we do on here on there. I am Conan Neutron at Conan Neutron Silencio, watching all the highbrow, the midbrow stuff, the Populous Fare. 2 left on my Criterion Challenge. 2 left. So I'm definitely finishing this year. I got 2 movies to watch before the end of the year. I think I'm gonna nail it.
Yo, have you guys seen all the things that are popping up for that movie, The Nun? Like that horror movie or whatever. It's like the second one of those. So Bonnie Aarons, who plays the bum, like that jumps out, the jump scare, is the same woman that like plays the nun, the demon nun that's in all the posters that are going up for that movie.
It's quite the stretch. J. Andrew, The Cowboy World. Oh, over this way. Nope, over that way. Nope, fuck it. Let's Barbie up that jewelry. Let's watch all the weirdest stuff so you don't have to. Or maybe so you can. Over there on Letterboxd right about now, too. He's logging it all whether you're there or not. Renee Ruin, hey, pretty girl, time to wake up. Time to log some stuff on Letterboxd. Renee Ruin's on good old Letterboxd as well. You can follow her. Ray, are you have a Letterboxd account? I don't think you do. I'm not peer pressuring you. I just don't remember.
They peer pressured me. You needed you one too, right?
Oh, I did. I definitely peer pressured Renee.
Solidarity.
Sure. That's because I just want to see her list because she has great taste in movies.
Yes.
So since you have great taste in movies too, Rayyvana, I would be interested in seeing your list. But you don't have to do it.
It's just David Lynch films ranked.
Right. That'll be my name on Letterboxd.
Yeah. You can just call yourself Dream Warrior because that seems to be a very running theme. J. Andrew, The Cowboy World, please take it away with plugs, why don't you?
All right. Well, thank you for watching. You're obviously watching us on, either YouTube or Twitch. And sorry,
and you're busting my chops by introing the bit. What the
fuck? Was I?
Oh, by the way, shout out to Shane for the super chat.
Yeah, thanks for the super chat. It was just me busting your balls, but I think it's just my brain isn't. It's just because my brain is not. I've like reached that point because it sounded in my head like I don't know.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Fight.
Shane, thank you so much for the super chat.
Yeah, I didn't see that. I would have put it on screen. Sorry, you already bailed. Yeah. So what are we asking people to do?
Yeah, we do the YouTube things: like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell, and of course the big ask. Watch the video to the end. You get that great Conan Neutron song, and that allows us to be discovered by other film fans. So if you can't do that, like that's all stuff you don't have to pay for to do. If you're over on Twitch, you can do the Twitch stuff. Throw us a sub. If you happen to have a Amazon Prime account, you can subscribe for free. Doesn't cost you a penny, but actually helps us out a lot. Thank you so much for doing all those things. You can find us on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, Blue Sky, and of course Instagram. So please find us, follow us on there, yell at us because we're happy to talk to you.
Not if you yell
really
at
are.
us.
No, don't. If you yell at me, I won't talk to you. I guarantee you I won't.
Yeah, Conan's going to be away, so he's just like.
I'll just have Rayyvana answer every message. It'll be great.
Yes.
She'll
Kill
send them right.
yourself every single time.
It was implied. Yeah.
If you also want to help out the show, we have a Patreon. We're doing an after party later tonight. And but if you want to go back and watch some of our past after parties, like the time Rayyvana brought Smasher Pash with Muppets.
Yes. The infamous Muppet Smasher Pass. We all know who is a smash. Janice. Anyway. So you can hear
but you gotta fucking, if you're gonna smash Janice, you better wear rubber because you don't know. I mean, Animal, Dr. Teeth, you know what I mean? Like they're all in there. They're all in there.
Are we slut shaming Muppets now? Is that what
Yeah,
we're
I don't
doing?
appreciate what you're doing to my girl Janice right now.
Yeah. I mean, just because she
has
has some dude's hand up her ass.
right. Could be a woman.
Well, I mean, not as we were kids. But.
Look, Janice plays ripping lead guitar in Electric Mayhem, and she should be
Right.
recognized as such.
She's a bad bitch.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
You would
And
be
speaking-
lucky, Forrest.
Exactly.
She's the third kid of Billy Ray Cyrus.
No.
By the way, you know that whole meme of the replace the entire cast of a movie with Muppets except for one character? I would say Justin Theroux and everyone else is Muppets.
Yes.
Oh, see,
No.
I would say, like having this movie with Naomi Watts and she's losing her mind and she's the only character, but everybody else is Muppets. Like,
Oh man,
I
is
would watch
Waldorf
it.
and Statler are like the old couple?
That would really change up the line though, when they're like, oh, I hope I see you on the big screen, and the other one would be like, I hope I don't.
But speaking of ripping electric guitar solos, Conan, you have a big tour coming up.
I guess I do. I'm leaving for it on Saturday. That was actually a very good segue, Andrew. So
Yeah, no, I had that in my back pocket, ready to go.
That's good. Yeah, it's Conan Neutron, The Secret Friends on tour, West Coast. I think I got the date somewhere here. Phoenix, LA, San Francisco, Sacramento, Reno, Eugene, Portland, Bellingham, Seattle, and the last two things are Bellingham Exit Fest and Rat City Recon in Seattle. So going to be doing some rocking. Here we go. Finally found it. Not great. Nobody can read it. Awesome. This is how I'm feeling right now.
It's like espresso's coming out of all of her body.
Exactly. But yeah, neutronfriends.bandcamp.com. All of the various shows are on Songkick, Bands in Town, all those things. If you live on the West Coast, come see us. If not, we will probably see you in 2024.
Yeah,
Conan will play you that song, that achy breaky song.
Exactly.
And if you're on the East Coast, you can't make it to any of those. You can get Adult Prom.
Yes, which officially released. Yes, absolutely. Officially released to the things that are not Bandcamp and to the world at large a week from Friday at the time of this recording. So it's if you have purchased ahead of time, you may already have your vinyl or CD or digital. But yeah, to the world at large, a week from Friday.
Fantastic. And of course, you still have Protonic Reversal, which is your great podcast.
Yes, I do, and yes, it is.
And wait, who was this week? I'm blanking on that. I did not write it down.
Well, this week coming up, it's Mike McGinnis from Rid of Me and Fight Amp and Knife Hits Records. So, and that's gonna be the last one before tour. And I'm frankly surprised I'm even doing that. But I got a bunch of good stuff for when I get back from tour. So there's a bunch of Protonics. There you go. That's there's all the dates right now. And of course, you can always dig into the archives. The John Baisley from Baroness episode has been people have been digging that one a lot.
John's cool.
Yeah, it's a good dude.
I'll be picking up some random episodes for the from the archives to plug while you're out.
So. A lot of them.
Yeah.
By the way, we also have we have the link in the description of, at least if you're watching this on YouTube, to get the tickets to see Conan on tour.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah. Rat City Recon tickets are actually going pretty fast because there's like big businesses playing and nuclear dudes and a bunch. It's gonna be amazing. That's at a roller rink. Did I ever mention that? By the way, the end of this tour is at a roller rink that like does shows. It's
That's
gonna be
cool
awesome.
as hell.
Yeah, I've been wanting to play that for a long time, and this is like the thing to play. So I'm very, very happy that we're going to be into the tour with that.
Kristina had to duck out, but please, if you can, go check out her Patreon, support her, check out her Twitch channel. When she's actually on, it's patreon.com/cosmopolitics. So there we go.
Fozzie Bear plays Dennis Hopper's character on Blue Velvet. Amazing.
That'd be amazing. Yes.
Everyone the fuck.
The Baroness record is really good. We go into it in depth, Kristina.
Yeah,
so if you're interested,
it's a
in that,
banger.
check it out.
But Rayyvana, you're back, and you've been on TYT doing the TYT stuff.
I have. I'm filling in for John on the Damage Report every Friday, and every Wednesday I'm on with J.R. Jackson, which is super fun. I'm also hosting the main show, the first hour, every Friday until John gets back in November. I'm going to be at TwitchCon at the end of October in Las Vegas. It's going to be super fun. So if anyone's in and around the Vegas area and wants to meet up with your favorite political commentator / David Lynch enjoyer, hit me up. Let me know. Taking the L is back, my podcast.
Oh, cool.
So check that out wherever you get your podcasts, or subscribe to our Patreon if you have a couple extra bucks. You can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rayyvana. You can also sub to me there if you want to give me money. I'd love it if you wanted to give me money. It'd be great. So please do. Otherwise, all my updates on what I'm doing are on Twitter. Twitter.com/ is it still Twitter?
Yes,
Rayyvana
it's Twitter.
at Rayyvana TTV on Twitter.
Get it.
Also, if you're capable of going to see Conan's show, you should go to some tour dates. They're a great band, put on a great performance. I saw them live. It was fantastic. Even got a song dedicated to me. Maybe that'll happen to you. So you should all try to make time if you're able to go see Conan.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. Our Rebel show is going to be great that we do.
Absolutely.
Are you playing on the 30th? On the 30th, Conan?
What about it? How about what?
You playing on the 30th?
Of this month? No. That's a driving day. I think we're maybe going to hang out with Chat Pile, friend of the show, Reagan Bush.
Sweet.
Because I missed him in Chicago. I couldn't do it. So
Yeah, I missed him in
Lawrence.
Minneapolis.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw a set, but I didn't get to talk to him.
Okay.
Yeah, we saw the set. We were both there for the set.
Yeah.
I was just befuddled by the whole interaction. So.
He rambled on about what movies were filmed in Minneapolis for like
and about how I was wearing the same outfit as he did last year, which was just like a pair of shorts.
The actual stage banter was better than what Andy's leading to believe. But great band, good buds, and friend of the show. Yeah.
Yes. Great.
What are we on? Who's up next?
Renee, we need to talk about some night shift.
Yeah. So. Yeah, night shift.
I was pulling for you. I was like, is he going to get that second word? Let's see.
night shift podcast where
would not subscribe, by the way.
Which is myself, Jenna Hayes, Bonnie Burton. So that's our podcast, which is just basically just on horror films and a female eye on it. Our next one coming up, which unfortunately we had to move because there was some animal issues with Jenna. So the next one is Infinity Pool, which is October 7 and October 8 in Australia. And then we are also having a really exciting one on October 13th and 14th in Australia. We're going to be doing Perpetrator, and we'll be having the director Jennifer Reeder on with us.
Oh, cool!
So
nice.
So that one.
I liked Infinity Pool. It's fucked, but I like it.
Yeah, it is. That's like you're like, yeah, very good.
Still my favorite Marvel movie.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Perpetrator. It's straight up our alley. Female power, blood. It's our thing.
We're also doing our monthly Renee episode next month. We're doing Hereditary.
Yes.
That's right. Long time coming on that one.
Yeah. I absolutely love that film. So I'm looking forward to that. Also in October coming up, I'm just waiting on the date. Might be the October 6th, I think, in America. I'm going to be on the Alien Murder Sex podcast. So I'll be talking about the cult, The Family from Australia, from Melbourne. And then we'll also be, the end of that podcast is also a section on a porn. So I've actually got the rights from Kimberly Kane, and we're going to be doing one of her ones with Sasha Grey, a scene that I picked. So we're doing a longer segment, and I've been told that this is will be the most professional / decent porn they've ever reviewed. They normally pick
what are they getting up to on this show?
At the end of each show, they normally do put a porn bit on and just take the piss out of it and review it, and it's usually a really terrible.
There's some
porn.
people behind the dumpster and
Just the shittest porn you can find. However, this I was like, hey, I've got connects. Let me get some decent, something cool in there. So
gonna class that show up.
Imagine being somebody that shoots amateur porn, and then you realize it's on a podcast and there's people reviewing it, and you're like no.
Yeah, it's a really funny show, and it's all about aliens, true crime, that kind of thing. But I'm going to be sort of educating everybody on The Family, and if you don't know much about them, I strongly suggest you check out the documentary, which is just called The Family, and they look like the children from Village of the Damned. They've all got white
aliens, true crime, and somebody's rock bottom.
Yeah. So that's an interesting one, which I think will be fun. And then I also have a huge 4-page spread coming out in Girls to the Front zine, which I think will be printed next month. So there'll be a huge launch party, etc. for that. And then
very rad.
This Friday, there's Renee Ruin presents with Shot Kickers Melbourne, which is a venue. I've put on a 3-band lineup show, which is big celebration for my birthday. So for those of you in Australia that want to come on down, it's free entry, starts at 8:00. It's with Serpent, Dead, and the Black Death Heart Club.
Dead, who are my buddies as well, and
Dead are
Jen
amazing. I love
been
them.
on the show on Protonic multiple times.
They were
a great band.
They were a prerequisite to the party.
Trying to bring them the Caterwaul next year, actually.
Yeah, they're amazing. So they are. It's going to be a rad night. So free entry. Come on down, and you can find everything across all my social platforms just under Renee Ruin, and links to everything there. So,
I should also say, presumably, Kristina will be feel better by then, but we're going to be on Dan from the Internet show on Thursday, I guess, and we're going to be talking about presumably the debate, I think, but the debate's tomorrow, but we're not going to be on for that. So, yeah.
There you go.
But starting, I guess, with Renee, let's hear some final thoughts.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for me, I love this film simply for the fact that it just teeters the edge of what is and isn't. And no matter how many times you watch, you see new things, you start to appreciate different ways things work. And I think that, it really, I just love the way that Lynch has worked into this, the whole idea of fantasy and reality and, what behind the curtain. And I think Naomi Watts did a phenomenal job in this role. In her career at the time that she did this role, she hadn't done a lot. So, I think this was a really big breakout for her.
It was also I'm pretty sure I didn't play the clip where she was talking about it, but I think it was she was kind of thinking about giving up because she hadn't been able to do a lot. And then David Lynch was like, I love this face.
Yeah, definitely.
She was in what was it? She was in Tank Girl, if I remember right.
Tank Girl, correct. Yeah, that was the first
Jet Girl.
That was her first big kind of Hollywood go. Yeah.
Second fiddle to Laura Petty, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I should say we're longer than the actual Mulholland Drive. as of now.
Okay.
Well, it kind of had to happen, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and as I said, I love the way it's shot. The cinematography is amazing, and yeah, again, I just love that tightrope walk between what is real and what isn't real, and interpretation. And David Lynch is very good at creating narratives that can bend and stretch and change to how the person who's viewing it may perceive it. And sometimes that changes with time when you watch it again. So yeah, I think, you know, it's an incredible film, and it's like we've discussed many times before, the difference between a movie and a film. And, you know, if you go into it with that expectation, then I think, you know, you can't go wrong. But if you're going in there expecting some clear cut baby fed thing, then you're watching the wrong movie.
Like apparently every critic did in 2001. Jesus.
Yeah,
it's
you're not going to get that.
Rough.
I don't know how any David Lynch person would ever think that that would be what they would get. It's like Eraserhead, dude. What? Like, do you not watch it? Like,
buy the ticket.
you're never going to watch a film by David Lynch and know what's going to happen.
I mean, fucking Blue Velvet has like multiple just lip synced like musical scenes that happen in the middle of it. Like, I don't know how you could like expect that out of, or expect a normal. I mean, this movie I think is coherent, but like normal coherent the first time you watch it experience from a David Lynch movie.
But if there's one thing you should expect out of a David Lynch movie, it is a scene where someone sings an entire song on stage. The full song. Every episode of Twin
more
Peaks,
than one.
Every episode of Twin Peaks: The Return ended with someone singing a full song, not an abridged version.
No.
Every part of it.
Even James, who I must say has never been cool. I'm sorry, not to be an asshole, but
this movie they sang the entirety of I mean, obviously The Crime, but also 16 Reasons. Because, like, why not? Ray, final thoughts.
I think a lot of creatives, a lot of artists like to create something and put it out in the world and say, you know, how you feel about this is up to your interpretation. I don't think David Lynch is one of those people. I think he has an answer and he's going to give you 0 clues to figure out what it is. So you better get on that. And if you're a big David Lynch fan, you're going to wreck yourself trying to figure out what that answer is. And that's fine. And that's part of the enjoyment of the movies, the films, and then the community around the films. Wonderful film. You have to watch it more than once. Oh, and my camera just died. So that's perfect timing, but I'm going to keep talking anyway. Because I'm sure people listening back to this or on audio don't even know that. So,
exactly.
But yeah, no, fantastic film. You know, I think Renee summed it up exactly right. If you go back and you watch it, you're going to catch something new every single time, and it's going to, you know, mean something different to you every time. So go in with an open mind. Obviously, don't rewatch it every day, or you might drive yourself just as crazy as her character in the film. But, you know, something to revisit multiple times.
There you go.
For sure. I watched it 3 times in 5 days. Maybe that's why I perceive maybe that's why I perceive Conan as just making noises rather than talking.
right, exactly. Under the influence.
Andy, final thoughts.
This is a fun and beautiful film. I mean, just like, you know, one of David Lynch's best looking films. Certainly, and it was the talk of the town back when this movie came out, and I remember there was a lot of discussion around it. And yes, a lot of people didn't like it, but you know, if you dug deep enough, there were a few people who you know, like you had to really dig, just like, you know, finding people who were against the Iraq War. They were out there.
Or just like you're flicking your bean real.
But no, this movie is yeah, there's just so much.
There it is.
Shit.
Yes, so much to it. There is meaning to the color that's being used. So definitely, like, I wish I had a little more time to have watched it a second time before I did this, because it is actually great on rewatches. I only had one viewing before the episode, and I don't think I've seen it since I originally watched it many years ago. So, but yeah, this is a movie you want to watch, sit with, and really just digest, and then maybe watch it again. Or, sit by the lake, touch grass. That's good too.
But this is a movie show, so I think it's notable that, watch the movie.
Yes. Cowboy Conan.
Sure. So, once again, this is one of my top 20 and maybe top 10 films of all time. And I think it's so nuanced and full of feeling, both justified and unjustified. It's a scathing indictment of Hollywood's world and a deeply emotional ride of basically one woman's terrifying emotional journey. And I think the performances are astounding. Career maker for Naomi Watts, underrated for Laura Herring. And the hypnotic mood is second to none, and the narrative, while confusing to many, is deep and sprawling. And I really love how David Lynch can make commonplace things seem bizarre and bizarre things seem commonplace. I think that Diane's story, and it's definitely Diane, not Betty, is a true tragedy, and not the least of which is because she believes all the things that are happening to her are because of some conspiracy. It's literally just a system, and that's even more soul-crushing.
She was too much of an anti-establishment truth teller.
Exactly. People are trying to shut her down. But what I like is that this kind of film makes you question every preconception, every symbol in a good way. And I think Lynchian is overused, and I have even been guilty of this sometimes. You see something unorthodox and dreamlike, you invoke Lynch. But the thing about Mulholland Drive is it feels...
You're actually dreaming, and you're like, this is just like a David Lynch movie.
There's a comic strip in there somewhere. But the thing is, Mulholland Drive actually feels like a dream, and almost no other director can do that. And as I mentioned earlier, when this came out, idiots said that Lynch didn't know how to tell a story. I think it's very telling that this has now been redeemed as a masterwork, and I'm glad for it. I'm glad to be able to cover it with all y'all.
Yeah, and one thing that we didn't touch on that I'll just say as a final thing is I think it's notable that he doesn't give her like the Nora Desmond moment. Right. The Norma, like at the end of Sunset Boulevard, she gets the moment where she's like, in front of all the cameras, and she's finally facing stardom, and it's like, an indictment of how much stardom can be negative or positive. And I like that David Lynch didn't give her that moment. She just blows her brains out.
It would have made no sense in the narrative.
Or, well, not just, I'm not saying like identical scene, but like, that fulfillment, right? Like she doesn't get anything she wants in the end. She just gets her
she never got anything she wanted in life too. So it all fits together.
Yeah.
It tracks.
So I like that. That's my final thought. Also, no, I Banda.